Think about what you can do with all that money. Thanks to both of you. Molly Jong-Fast, contributing writer for the New York Times, and Rick Wilson, co-founder of the Lincoln Project. We'll be right back.
Even on an antidepressant, I was masking my depression. I felt I was missing out on the moments around me. So my doctor prescribed Rexulti.
When added to an antidepressant, Rexulti was proven to significantly reduce depression symptoms, more than an antidepressant alone.
She said Rexulti could provide a boost. For me, less depression meant enjoying the little things.
Elderly people with dementia-related psychosis have increased risk of death or stroke. Antidepressants may increase suicidal thoughts and actions and worsen depression in children and young adults. Call your healthcare provider right away to report new or sudden changes in mood, behavior, thoughts, or feelings, or if you develop suicidal thoughts or actions. Report fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which can be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar can lead to coma or death. Weight gain, increased cholesterol, unusual urges, dizziness on standing, falls, seizures, trouble swallowing, or sleepiness may occur.
Could a boost help you build on your progress?
Ask your doctor about adding Rexulti.
The human brain is truly incredible. It's a complex network of 100 billion neurons that create cognitive functions surpassing that of supercomputers. Our brain controls our thoughts, our emotions, and our movements. Prevagen contains apoaquarin, originally discovered in jellyfish, and is designed specifically for the brain to help keep it amazing, so that we can continue to live our best life. Prevagen, for your brain.
It looks like an ordinary staircase, but as you age with occasional nerve discomfort that can feel like stabbing or pins and needles in your hands and feet, sometimes stairs can bring worry. As a retired doctor, now that I'm older myself, I take Nervive. Nervive Nerve Relief has ALA to start reducing occasional nerve discomfort in 7 days. Getting older happens, but living with occasional nerve discomfort doesn't have to. Try Nervive like I did and get your freedom back. Feel alive with Nervive.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. For peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
She's really getting up there. Yeah, she is. Don't feel your age. Act your age. Aspercream.
During my recovery, the only thing I could think about was getting back to playing. Boost gave me the fuel to get back on the stage. Music is life. A real comeback deserves a real boost.
You filled this place with life, but life keeps growing.
Look, Mama.
Saying goodbye should be the hardest part. With Open Door, get an all-cash offer for your home in 24 hours. Move into your future with Open Door.
Amazon offers hourly employees health care for $5 a week with $5 copays.
Safety.
Should I go, Mom?
No, don't tell your mother anything.
Amazon offers hourly employees health care on day one for the whole family.
There's a huge universe out there with a lot of galaxies.
Pack our things.
So some dinosaur just shows up and he's now part of the group. Cool.
Rated PG, only in theaters April 1st.
New reporting from the Wall Street Journal amid a Homeland Security shakeup is that President Trump wants to lower the profile of his deeply unpopular mass deportation program. But make no mistake, changing the most notorious names and faces of this brutal crackdown does not change the policy itself. The real story is not happening in Washington in hearings. It's playing out on the streets of American cities where our neighbors are still being terrorized every day. And no one knows these stories better than our own Jacob Soboroff. Jacob joins me next to talk about the ground-level through line of Donald Trump's anti-immigrant doctrine and to introduce himself as the host of a brand new MS Now show coming in June.
What happened here today in Los Angeles, I think, is the worst nightmare for so many people who live here. When you've got ICE showing up outside of places like schools, it quite literally is striking fear into the heart of people all throughout this community.
Tom Homan, the border czar, said to me yesterday he did not rule out literally arresting you.
Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. I don't give a damn.
You think that he'll chicken out, or would he ever arrest you?
Well, you know the expression, Trump always chickens out, Taco.
I can tell you what happens when you see a federalized, militarized police force on the streets of the city and people don't want them there. This is what happens.
What brings you out here? Let's walk and we'll talk.
ICE is not welcome here. The National Guard is not welcome here. Crime is under control.
Wait. Whoa. So what you just witnessed was federal agents obviously detaining someone outside of their immigration hearing.
Do you believe that type of enforcement, indiscriminate rounding up of people, in some measure it's already happening? If it does happen here as the mayor, what are you going to do about it?
I'm going to continue to make clear that this is not something that we stand for as New Yorkers.
All right, so we just rolled up on the scene of an operation that's happening right now. These guys have their less lethals out. This is actually happening in real time. As you can see right here, the window of this car has been smashed in, and what people are saying, did anybody see it? Did you see it?
A lot of stuff that's been happening, man. I got tear gas in my face and everything.
Who are you looking at when it comes to accountability and who should be held accountable here?
Yes, I think there will be accountability. Somebody gave the orders to this.
Did they tell you, Elvis, that they had sent you to Texas against the order of a judge?
No, they only said we had to go back, nothing else.
What do you want Donald Trump to know if the president is watching this interview?
That not all of us are criminals.
Why'd I go to the doctor? When my heart kept skipping a beat, I didn't think much of it. But my girls made me get checked out, and it made such a difference. Turns out, I have AFib, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you notice one or more of these symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did, and my girls are too.
This is no time to wait.
When your gut is out of balance, your body gives you signs. So if you're frustrated with occasional bloating or gas, help stop the frustration and start taking Align every day. Align Probiotic was specifically designed by gastroenterologists to help relieve your occasional bloating and gas, so you can enjoy life. When you feel the signs, it's time to try Align.
Sometimes you just need a moment. Self-care has never been this easy. Try Zero Sugar Gummies from Nature Made. Same benefits, zero sugar.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. For peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
My moderate to severe plaque psoriasis held me back, but now I'm all in with clearer skin, thanks to Skyrizi.
Most people achieved clearer skin from head to toe. Many were 100% plaque-free. And many were completely clear, even at 5 years.
People also saw significant improvement in pain, redness, itching, and burning.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin fits my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need? Now you can sell your policy, even a term policy, for an immediate cash payment. Call Coventry Direct to learn more.
We thought we had planned carefully for our retirement.
But we quickly realized we needed a way to supplement our income.
Our friends sold their policy to help pay their medical bills. And that got me thinking. Maybe selling our policy could help with our retirement.
I was skeptical, so I did some research and called Coventry Direct. They explained life insurance is a valuable asset that can be sold.
We learned we could sell all of our policy or keep part of it with no future payments. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we can relax and enjoy our retirement as we had planned.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may qualify to sell your policy. Don't cancel or let your policy lapse without finding out what it's worth. Visit CoventryDirect.com to find out if your policy qualifies, or call 1-800-513-7100. Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
Good morning. It is Saturday, March the 21st. I'm Ali Velshi, and we begin this hour with a warning. President Trump is trying to change the narrative of his brutal, indiscriminate, and deliberately cruel immigration crackdown. He wants to change the narrative, but he can't change the story, the one that we see with our eyes and on video, and the ones brought to us by journalists who are committed to bearing witness. Following sustained public outrage and sliding poll numbers over violent deployments by federal immigration officers in cities like Minneapolis and Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. and Chicago, this administration has signaled a reset. They started in late January. Kristi Noem, then still head of DHS, stepped back a bit. The border czar, Tom Homan, was brought into Minneapolis with a tacit promise to rein in ICE and CBP after officers killed 2 American citizens, and the administration lied about the circumstances of their deaths. And this week, Trump made clear what the real problem was with that operation. Because, as the Wall Street Journal reports, quote, President Trump is seeking to lower the profile of his mass deportation effort, end quote. The president, the Journal reports, has told advisors that he wants to see more attention on arresting bad guys and less chaos in American cities, according to people familiar with the matter, end quote. The report goes on to note that the change is being driven by Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, who believes his immigration team turned one of his marquee issues into a challenge for the midterms, and that the firing of Kristi Noem as DHS secretary is being seen as the moment for a reset. Pay attention to what they're saying here. For the White House, the problem is the optics, what it looks like on TV, how it's talked about, what the headlines and the polls say, and crucially, the reporting on the reset talk at the White House is sourced to, quote, people familiar with the matter, end quote. The official statement to the Journal from the White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson is, quote, nobody's changing the administration's immigration enforcement agenda. President Trump's highest priority has always been the deportation of illegal alien criminals who endanger American communities, end quote. Keep that top of mind, who endanger American communities. The United States Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma, Trump's pick to replace Kristi Noem, brings to the role all the qualifications that you'd expect from someone who spent the last decade fixing pipes and picking physical fights at Senate committee hearings. He's described the revamp this way during his Senate confirmation hearing this week.
My goal in 6 months is that we're not in the lead story every single day.
The goal is to not be the lead story every single day. Again, listen to what's being said. This isn't about retreating from a widely unpopular mass deportation effort. For Trump, the crackdowns become a political liability because we see the violence and the brutality and the cruelty with our own eyes and what reporters show us. Listen to what the Minnesota Governor Tim Walz told my colleague Jacob Soboroff in this exclusive interview in late January, which was essentially confirmed this week by the Journal's reporting.
I talked to the White House. I talked to Tom Homan. I talked to numerous people. And not once did they ever say Alex or Renee's name. Not once did they ask how the people of Minnesota were doing. So, look, I know who I'm dealing with, and I know the reason that he was calling me was he needed something from us. The reason he was calling was his poll numbers dropped and it looked bad on TV. What the White House wants is for these scenes on the streets to stop because it's tanking their approval ratings, and according to the president, it looks bad.
As Malcolm Ferguson noted in the New Republic, quote, even if Trump has finally realized that masked federal agents kicking down doors and killing people in the street is a bad look for the midterms, Stephen Miller is still in the room, end quote. Meanwhile, amid the so-called reset, we learned just this week that a 19-year-old who was arrested after being stopped over a minor traffic infraction died while in ICE custody at a facility in South Florida. He's the youngest person to die in ICE detention during this administration. Royer Perez Jimenez died on Monday of a presumed suicide in his cell, according to a statement from ICE. His official cause of death remains under investigation, but Royer Perez Jimenez is dead after being stopped over a minor traffic infraction. In Minnesota, we saw in a visceral way what enforcement looks like when it was impossible to ignore, particularly after the viral killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. The crackdown became the biggest flashpoint in the debate over Trump's mass deportation agenda. And former Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bovino's ouster came as a new AP NORC poll found that most U.S. adults say Trump's immigration policies have gone too far. But here's the key. Most of the enforcement was never happening in the flashpoints that drew all that public outrage. New analysis from the New York Times gives us one of the clearest pictures yet of how immigration enforcement is actually unfolding across the country, and it's not what you might think. The bulk of the effort is taking place far more quietly and away from the public view. Here's what the Times found. ICE arrests are surging nationwide, now averaging more than 1,100 arrests a day in 2006. That's nearly double from about 600 a day last spring. But enforcement is uneven, and the busiest areas are not actually the ones making headlines. Miami leads the country, more than 41,000 arrests since Donald Trump took office, followed by Dallas, Atlanta, San Antonio. Most enforcement is actually happening away from the cameras. Cooperation with local law enforcement is key. About half of arrests are custodial, meaning they're arrests of people who are already in custody, and those are much more common in Republican-led states where local police are actually willing to collaborate with the Trump administration. And crucially, many of those arrested have no criminal record, undercutting the claim that this effort is in fact focused on criminals and the worst of the worst. Meanwhile, ICE is operating at a massive scale. More than 7 million people are on its non-detained docket, meaning that they're not in custody, but they are considered deportable. 7 million. According to the Brennan Center for Justice, previous administrations prioritized detaining immigrants with criminal records while releasing most others pending hearings. As of last month, according to Brennan, 74% of those in ICE detention have no criminal record. ICE air operations has rapidly expanded, for example, driven in part by the growth of its subcontracted private charter network, according to Human Rights First's latest report. As that report notes, for the month of February, quote, the findings show a continued escalation of the Trump administration's mass deportation agenda, including 183 removal flights to 31 countries and the continued use of forced third country transfers. In February alone, after the administration's supposed reset, there were 1,630 immigration enforcement flights, a 155% increase from February of last year. Private contractors are really doing well, by the way. ICE awarded CoreCivic, which is a private prison company, a no-bid contract to reopen a 1,033-bed facility in Kansas, later expanded into a deal expected to bring in about $60 million annually. ICE also signed a $1 billion 15-year contract with Geo Group, another major private prison operator, to run a detention facility in New Jersey. 15 years is an unusually long deal. Trump's shift in strategy is about moving this effort out of sight and for the long term, but the machinery has not stopped churning. And as reporting continues to show, enforcement is increasingly reaching into the most vulnerable populations, including pregnant, postpartum, and nursing immigrants. As of February 16th, 121 people in ICE detention fell into those categories, including 9 women who were in their 3rd trimester, despite federal policy stating that such individuals should only be detained in limited circumstances. Between January 2025 and February 16th of 2026, 16 miscarriages were recorded by people in federal custody. And as enforcement expands, another deeply troubling development is getting far less attention than it should be: the surveillance of political dissent. There's growing evidence that federal agents are tracking and documenting American protesters, not immigrants, not undocumented immigrants, American citizens who are protesters, filming them, logging their information with the help of tech companies like Palantir, and ultimately relying on that same data system that powers your phone and your texts and your emails. According to reporting by the Washington Post and the New York Times, and now according to new reporting from NPR, in some cases, it goes further. According to NPR, ICE officers are taking DNA samples from American protesters who they arrest. One protester described being tackled while filming an arrest, detained, and then without warning, having his DNA swabbed. Legal experts warn this could amount to what one attorney calls a catalog of political dissidents. A catalog of political dissidents in America. And that changes the stakes for anyone who does not support this administration, which right now is actually a majority of this country and growing, which is why more than ever this moment demands reporting grounded not in the Beltway, but in the lived experiences of the people who are most affected by these policies. Which brings me to my next guest, Jacob Soboroff. Jacob has spent years on the ground in communities across the country, across the world, actually, telling so many stories, but this one in particular, the story of the cruelty and the human cost of Donald Trump's anti-immigrant program. Not as an abstraction, not through Washington punditry, but through the lived experiences of everyday Americans navigating it in real time. Now, as many of you have probably heard by now, I will be leaving this, my namesake weekend program in the next few months to host the 11th hour on weeknights and to track the midterm cycle as MS Now's new chief data reporter. And while I am excited for this new chapter, I'm departing with a heavy heart, knowing that I'm leaving a show that's given me so much and that's allowed me as a longtime reporter to center the voices of everyday Americans. But that work will continue because Jacob Soboroff will be taking over the show. I've known and worked with Jacob for years, and I could not ask for this show to be in better or steadier hands. Jacob Soboroff joins me now. Jacob, my friend, welcome to a place you're going to be spending a whole lot of time over the next few months, and I want to talk to you about that in just a few minutes. But I want to start with this issue of immigration. The New York Times data that I was just talking about shows that the busiest enforcement hubs, places like Miami and Dallas, aren't necessarily the ones dominating the headlines. Why is there such a disconnect between where the enforcement's actually happening and what we all think we're seeing?
I'm going to come back around to that in a second, Ali, but you made me emotional, and I can't just dive right into this. I want to say to you that I am so profoundly grateful to you for not only that beautiful introduction, but your friendship over my 11 years here and us working together. We are not just buddies, but you are a role model for me. The connection that you have forged with the viewers of this broadcast and this network and just everybody who was in your orbit. I had such an incredible time talking with your entire staff of this wonderful, wonderful show yesterday is second to none. And so I love you. I love this show. I love this network, and I'm so excited. We'll talk more about that. But
and I'm glad I'm leaving it in your hands
so much.
But you really are, you have for a long time, this is not new to you, studying this particular issue. This issue of immigration, you've written a book about it. You studied it in great detail in Donald Trump's first term. You've covered the separations, family separations. I don't know if even you thought it could get more cruel.
No, and I think that the way that this was laid out by you and your team is extraordinary because, you know, before Donald Trump came back for the second term, I used to say mass deportation. Those signs that I saw on the floor of the convention as I reported from the Republican convention during the last presidential election is family separation by another name. But as you have so brilliantly stated here, it's not just family separation. It is abject cruelty. It is a violation of all of our civil rights and civil liberties. It is stripping away some of the basic fabric of American society in a way that, while I think if you look at this stuff closely, you understand that this is where this was headed. It has gone to a degree that I don't think perhaps many Americans did expect when they saw those signs and they saw those balloons dropping with Donald Trump in that celebratory nature. And the reality of this is it is now starting to play out below the surface, as they have always intended, inside jails. Local jails, prisons around the country, where in many cases people may not get their due process rights afforded to them under the Constitution of the United States. We may see pre-trial, pre-conviction deportations of people who haven't had a chance to go through the system, and that is what they have always wanted to do. They use the cruelty that you're looking at on the left-hand side of your screen as an excuse to go in and do this under the radar, and that's exactly where we are in this moment today. Kristi Noem and her jet and Corey Lewandowski and all the rest of it might be on the way out, but Markwayne Mullin is just another face for the same exact strategies that Stephen Miller has always wanted to effectuate in this country.
This story of immigration is not disconnected from the story of oligarchy and big money that we follow very closely. We know that for-profit prisons have profited handsomely from Donald Trump's deportation campaign. In fact, just this last month, one of the companies that I was talking about that you know well, CoreCivic, held its quarterly earnings call, and it laid out just how much money it's making along with its expectations for the coming year. I want to play a quick clip from that call with CoreCivic's CEO, Patrick Swindle, speaking about this.
ICE was our first customer 43 years ago and has been our largest customer for over a decade. As we continue to look for additional ways to meet our government partners' needs, we believe we can make available substantial capacity to meet future demand. We've informed ICE that we could provide it with nearly 13,000 additional beds. And this does not include additional capacity we may be able to provide through other means.
Help me with that, Jacob. When you hear the CEO talking about expanding capacity to meet future needs, what does that tell you about the role of profit and investor expectations in shaping what we think shouldn't probably be policy that's shaped by them?
That the current state of the American immigration system is on its way to being supersized, and that is an immigration system that is defined largely by for-profit immigration detention. And I have been inside one of the most notorious ICE detention facilities, for-profit, run not by CoreCivic, but one of the other large companies, the Geo Group, the Adelanto ICE detention facility in the high desert here outside of Los Angeles, just a couple hours away. Hop in your car and you drive up there, as I did with Lindsay Kozlowski from the Immigrant Defenders Law Center during the first Trump term. And inside, what I saw is what was reflected inside Inspector General reports. Just deplorable conditions. I saw a man curled up in a fetal position in solitary confinement. These Inspector General reports talk about people hanging themselves, making makeshift nooses. You already talked about a suicide at a time when death in ICE custody is at record levels, just in the course of the very recent past here. And so we've heard these stories before. I have seen what it has looked like inside these facilities. And now, with profit driving the expansion of all of this, with this so-called big, beautiful bill, putting literally unprecedented amounts of money in the hands of this immigration apparatus, there will only be more of it in more places, and it will only become more deadly.
You know, we've noted that Kristi Noem is gone from the scene. Markwayne Mullin is saying to some people the right things, like we're going to have judicial warrants or whatever the case is. Stephen Miller is the architect of this thing. He's still there.
Yep. Stephen Miller, in the first Trump term, Allie, not only wanted to separate the 5,500 children from their parents that they deliberately did in that family separation policy that was deemed, don't take it from me, take it from the Republican-appointed judge who called it one of the most shameful chapters in the history of our country. Physicians for Human Rights, which won a Nobel Peace Prize, said it met the United Nations definition of torture, and the American Academy of Pediatrics called it government-sanctioned child abuse. He wanted to separate 25,000 children from their parents, not 5,500 before it was stopped by people all around the country and around the world. And that, to me, ultimately, is, I think, was one of the most instructive things that you said earlier in this broadcast, which is Donald Trump is not backing away from this because of some moral opposition. This is a repeat. This is deja vu from the first Trump term. When he stopped the family separation policy, as Kirstjen Nielsen stood behind him, the person who effectuated it by signing option 3 on the decision memo, he didn't say, whoa, I'm morally opposed. He said, I didn't like the sight and the feeling of the families being separated. Didn't look good on TV, didn't look good in that audio from ProPublica that Ginger Thompson found. But Stephen Miller was still there, and they still tried to find ways to do it below the radar. And now we're back doing it again, and Stephen Miller hasn't gone anywhere.
Jacob, viewers of this show are going to get to know you real well very soon, but I want to just sort of I want to give him one little piece of insight into why you do what you do. It was 2022. It was the first day you and I were together in Ukraine. Let's play a little of this conversation that you and I had. One of the things that my viewers are often curious about is how you all end up here. What motivates you to run toward danger?
It's the people. For me, it's always the people. In the 2.5 weeks that I've been here, you get to talk to people from the East that are sleeping in Red Cross tents at the train station. I got to spend time with people who survived the Holocaust only to flee another foreign invasion. people serving hot meals to people all around the country. It's through those stories, and not just the politics or the negotiations or the familiar faces, that I think, for me, it makes this all worth coming to do.
Jacob, that's your lens, right? That's your lens is not Washington. Yeah. Your lens is not, it's not power. It's people. Everywhere you go in the world, you're reporting on people and how they're affected by stories.
It is, as I said, it's an honor to follow in your footsteps because I feel like you do this better than anyone, Allie. For me, being a part of this place has always been about the people, not about the politics. And I'm talking about you and my colleagues here at MS, and I am talking about our audience, the most engaged audience, the most extraordinary people that I've ever met in my career in broadcasting, but also the people that we cover who allow us to enter their lives oftentimes on the worst day. And it is a profound privilege and honor. And for me, whether it was in Ukraine with you, or in Haiti, or in Guatemala, or in Greenland, or in Mexico, or in so many places around the United States of America, to be able to come face to face with people. For me, on a voting line sometimes. It might be down on the border other days. For a while, it was on the plaza at the Today Show. I love human beings. And to have 3 hours on Saturday and 3 hours on Sunday to spend time connecting with them is the biggest blessing that I could ask for, and I mean that sincerely.
We're looking forward to spending a lot more time with you, my friend. Thank you for your friendship and for your amazing reporting and for the job you're about to do when you take over this show. Jacob Soboroff, MS Now senior political national reporter, and in just a few months, the new host of this time slot.
Congratulations,
all right, coming up, the Senate.
Thank you.
Thanks, my friend. You too. Coming up, the Senate's in session this weekend, taking up Donald Trump's voter suppression bill, ironically called the SAVE Act. We're watching Capitol Hill for the votes, and we'll keep you posted. Plus, Republicans in Ohio are taking a page out of literally a page out of Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, with legislation that would track every pregnancy from beginning to end.
The Lumify effect. One drop dramatically reduces redness for brighter, whiter-looking eyes that make you go, wow. Lumify works in 1 minute and lasts up to 8 hours. See what all the hype is about with the one and only Lumify.
What's the secret to peak health? Going micro with Noom. Micro habits, micro wins, even microdose GLP-1s.
I can lose up to 11 pounds in 30 days? Heck yeah!
Now starting at just $99.
The bloating was very uncomfortable. It felt like a rock in my stomach. I just didn't feel at home in my body. Like, you look at yourself and you're like, this doesn't feel like me anymore. Since taking Saints DS-01, the bloating within 2 weeks just significantly decreased. I definitely feel just more regular, lighter. I have felt the most like myself. It has become such a staple in my routine.
Visit Seed.com to start DS-01 today.
It looks like an ordinary staircase, but as you age with occasional nerve discomfort that can feel like stabbing or pins and needles in your hands and feet, sometimes stairs can bring worry. As a retired doctor, now that I'm older myself, I take Nervive. Nervive Nerve Relief has ALA to start reducing occasional nerve discomfort in 7 days. Getting older happens, but living with occasional nerve discomfort doesn't have to. Try Nervive like I did and get your freedom back. Feel alive with Nervive.
This is Alex. Alex needed help investing his savings. With his advisor, Dennis, he opened 3 accounts.
One for now, one for later, and of course, his retirement.
More than big goals for his future, Alex has got a plan to get there.
The investors pulled our funding. What do we do?
I'd go tumblers.
Like acrobats?
No, custom branded tumblers from Custom Ink.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, our logo.
Let's funding go!
With over 10,000 swag options, Ink is more than you think.
We pull people off the street and ask them about their hearts.
How's your heart? My heart's pretty good. You sure? How do you know? You're driving a car, you have the check engine light, but the heart doesn't have a hey, check heart sign.
Check your heart in just 30 seconds with Cardio Mobile and enjoy the convenience and reliability of a medical-grade EKG from anywhere. And you can get Cardio Mobile today for just $79 at Cardio.com or Amazon, so you can start taking charge of your heart health.
I want to show you something. Put both fingers right on those pads. There you go. In 30 seconds, we're going to have a medical-grade EKG reading. There it is. That is you. Look at that.
Cardio Mobile is proven to detect up to 6 of the most common arrhythmias, including atrial fibrillation, which, when left untreated, can increase your risk of stroke by 5 times. KardioMobile has recorded over 300 million EKGs, and it's our most clinically validated personal EKG. Checking your heart anytime, anywhere has never been easier. Get KardioMobile today for just $79 at Kardia.com or Amazon.
It's fun for me to win on the course, but it's even more fun to win on Deal Dash.
Lori won $2,000 Tiffany earrings for just $1, and Joseph won an iPad for just $6. There's millions of fast auctions, so try today at DealDash.com for $50 of free credit and your first win guaranteed.
This isn't your average pill. This is Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks is a fast-acting solution because it dissolves under your tongue.
Rose Sparks.
Guys, get started today.
Connect with a provider to find out if Rose Sparks are right for you.
We're going to bring you all of it as fast as it comes in.
It's going to be a nail-biter all night.
At the end of the day, this is about the voters.
What's motivating you to stay on this line?
It's more important to vote now than ever before.
You cannot really manipulate agency.
Does the president or the Republican Party just not know where the people of North Carolina are?
Between now and November, lots of things could happen.
Come on back, it's just going to be good.
Stay with us.
Margaret Atwood joined the Velshi Band Book Club to talk about her seminal dystopian novel, The Handmaid's Tale. She reminded us that she got all the ideas for the book set in a near-future autocratic theocracy from actual history, from real things that had happened in the world and could happen again. She actually kept the newspaper clippings that she used as research when she wrote this book in 1985. And this week, there's a story out of the state of Ohio that reads like a building block of Gilead come to life. Ohio Republicans introduced a bill that would allow the government to track every pregnancy from beginning to end. The measure, called House Bill 754, HB 754, would create a state-run registry of pregnancies, requiring medical providers to file a certificate of life within the Ohio Department of Health within 10 days of examining a pregnant patient and detecting a fetal heartbeat. It's worth noting here that what we call a fetal heartbeat is more accurately described as fetal heart activity, which the Cleveland Clinic notes begins as the cells that will later form the fetal heart begin to cluster early in the first trimester and can create electrical pulses. The medical provider would be required to provide a copy of that certificate of life to the pregnant woman. The bill also mandates that fetal deaths be registered with the state and that providers specify whether a pregnancy ended in miscarriage, abortion, or stillbirth. I'm not done. Then a cause of death would need to be certified within 48 hours, and if a fetus is deemed to have died in a, quote, violent, suspicious, unusual, or sudden, end quote, manner, a coroner or a medical examiner would be brought in. So who decides which fetal deaths, which are otherwise known as miscarriages, which are also very common, should be deemed suspicious? And for that matter, a miscarriage is medically defined as a sudden or spontaneous loss of a fetus. It is always sudden. That's literally what a miscarriage is. According to the Mayo Clinic, about 10 to 20% of known pregnancies result in a sudden loss of a fetus, a miscarriage. The actual number is likely much higher because many miscarriages happen very early in a pregnancy, in some cases before a woman realizes that they are pregnant. As the journalist Jessica Valenti writes, quote, let's be clear about what this really is. An attempt to build an infrastructure for pregnancy surveillance, not just tracking who's pregnant, but documenting how every pregnancy ends and creating a pathway for scrutiny if the state decides that something looks off. While this legislation would be insane, no matter where it was introduced, the fact that it's being proposed in a state like Ohio, where in 2023 voters passed an amendment enshrining the right to abortion in the state's constitution, is telling. The state already requires a death certificate for miscarriages past 20 weeks of gestation. So while this bill, if it's signed into law, would certainly face legal challenges, it's not entirely clear whether it would be overturned in a post-Roe legal climate. And regardless of whether or not legislation like HB 754 passes, it's a terrifying signal of intent. It tells us exactly what kind of regime conservative lawmakers are trying to implement. It lays bare the purpose of the anti-abortion movement, which has always been about controlling women and their bodies. And it heralds a sort of reproductive police state that sounds a lot like Chapter 11 of The Handmaid's Tale. Quote, yesterday morning, I went to the doctor, was taken by a guardian, one of those with the red armbands who were in charge of such things. We rode in a red car, him in front, me in the back. No twin went with me. On these occasions, I'm solitaire. I'm taken to the doctor's office once a month for tests, urine, hormones, cancer smear, blood tests, the same as before, except that now it's obligatory.
When your gut is out of balance, your body gives you signs. So if you're frustrated with occasional bloating or gas, help stop the frustration and start taking Align every day. Align Probiotic was specifically designed by gastroenterologists to help relieve your occasional bloating and gas, so you can enjoy life. When you feel the signs, it's time to try Align.
Whether you're a professional driver or just a fan, vehicle breakdowns are costly.
It started tugging.
The last thing I remember is just the engine cut out.
I knew pretty quickly that I had a pretty severe issue on my hands.
If your check engine light comes on tomorrow, the repair could easily cost thousands.
Imagine me paying out of pocket $4,000 or $5,000.
I was not ready to spend a few $1,000s.
It was like almost a $6,000 job.
But with Endurance, you could never pay out of pocket for a costly repair again. Plus, your rate stays the same no matter how many claims you file.
I've had 5 claims for over $12,000.
I've had 6 claims worth over $4,000.
I've had 3 claims and saved over $3,700.
I've had 2 claims for over $4,600, and my rate hasn't changed.
Use any certified mechanic you want. Just bring your car in, and Endurance will pay them direct. All major parts are covered.
What I like about Endurance, they don't play games, there's no middleman. They're a solid company.
With Endurance, your car repair costs go way down, while your car's life expectancy goes way up, allowing you to drive more and pay less.
Something is going to break down. Make Endurance pay for it.
They covered a $14,000 engine replacement.
So, who's going to pay for your next car repair? You or Endurance?
Whether you put 10,000 or 100,000 miles a year on your car, if it's less than 20 years old, Endurance has you covered with unlimited miles. Plus, your plan covers 24/7 roadside assistance anywhere in the country. Call right now to get $300 off any plan, plus a full year of our top-tier elite benefits, a $2,000 value free. And all Endurance plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. But you have to act now. Call 1-866-268-2978 for a free quote. That's 1-866-268-2978.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine.
Well, she doesn't know that if she owns a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, she can sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy.
Even a term policy?
Even a term policy!
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-738-1300 or visit coventrydirect.com.
If history has taught us anything, it's not to root against the underdog, against impossible odds. You don't stand down. You swing first. Kalshi.
I won this skydiving package on Deal Dash.
Lori won $2,000 Tiffany earrings for just $1, and Joseph won an iPad for just $6. There's millions of fast auctions. So try today at DealDash.com for $50 of free credit and your first win guaranteed.
Pronamel, clinical enamel strength, can help us to keep our enamel for a lifetime. It's backed by science. It is clinically proven to strengthen our teeth. I would recommend this toothpaste to everybody. It's really an amazing product.
They tell you to optimize, to hack. But what if you were never broken? Armor Colostrum, the first food of life, reawakens your innate brilliance. 400 nutrients, 4 seconds, 1 daily revival.
Joining me now is Michelle Goodwin, professor of constitutional law and global health policy at Georgetown Law. She's the host of the On the Issues podcast. She's the author of the very important book, Policing the Womb, Invisible Women and the Criminalization of Motherhood. Michelle, thank you for being here. I was, I love having you on the show, and we've talked about this so many years, but I was sort of mixed about having you on the show because I thought you may be too heavy a hitter for this, given your expertise, because this is just basic weird, policing of women. There's no science or medicine to discuss here.
Well, thank you for having me on, and thank you for being so consistent and shining in a very important light about what's happening in our country with regard to women and reproductive health, rights, and justice. And you're right, it's absurd. It reminds me of a speech that Dr. King wrote upon receiving a Humanitarian of the Year award from Planned Parenthood in 1966. And he began that speech with saying, if aliens were to drop down from outer space, they would say that our nation is governed by a group of insane men. Well, in this case, we see the majority of these legislatures as being male controlled, though the author of this bill happens to be a woman in the state of Ohio, and it is absolutely insane. And what it purports is exactly what you suggested is surveillance and the potential, the very real potential and probability of criminal punishments and civil fines and various other horrors.
So miscarriages are very, very, very common. I mean, part of the whole discussion you and I have been having for years is if men knew a little bit more about reproductive stuff, some of this stuff wouldn't happen, right? And if you tried this on men, right, if you suggested there was anything that men do that should be surveilled, people would burn everything down. Remember all the stress about whether you should be on a contact list if you had COVID, and how great. Can you imagine this degree of tracking women? In many cases, in a traumatic period for them. If they have lost a child and now you got 48 hours, you got to file documents and you got to do all this stuff. It's really just basic policing. To what end?
Oh, yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I mean, what we see right now are proxies, and you've been talking about this, and we've talked about this, the connection between democracy and reproductive health, rights, and justice. So right now, we have the potentiality that many women, like millions potentially, could lose their right to vote if the SAVE Act gets across the line. We see actions like this, which are meant, this is all a part of a flood the zone that is targeted at women. And what we know with this is that when the Supreme Court overturned Dobbs in when the Supreme Court overturned Roe and Planned Parenthood v. Casey in 2022 with its Dobbs decision, our Supreme Court only years before had acknowledged that a woman is 14 times more likely to die in this country by carrying a pregnancy to term than by having an abortion. Full stop. 2016, the Supreme Court acknowledged that in a Texas abortion case. We also know, as you've mentioned, that miscarriages are frequent. They are a part of life of a woman. They're part of pregnancies. Upwards of 30% of pregnancies will end in miscarriage. That's a reality, and also stillbirth. But what you see with this pronatalism, this anti-abortionism, is this surveillance, this tracking, this desire to criminally punish, to civilly punish. What this has meant is that doctors have had a very hard time intervening when they otherwise would have across this country because they
to save a woman's life, right? Because something may have to happen, but that might mean the result is an abortion, and now the doctor or the hospital doesn't want to get involved in that.
Oh, no, they don't, because, you risk 99 years incarceration and a $100,000 fine for each patient that you provide ethical professional care towards. I mean, this is the lunacy that's been unleashed by the Supreme Court with its Dobbs decision, and notably the Venn diagrams that overlap between the anti-abortion states and the American Confederacy. I mean, we're talking about states that have had a very strong taste for the subordination of groups of people, including women and including people of color, particularly Black women. And you notice then those who've become most harmed by this, all women are harmed, but there's a specific kind of terror that is unleashed in the lives of low-income women and women of color, and particularly Black women. And it's a real tragedy that isn't being spoken to in as explicit terms as needed.
A taste for subjugating groups of people. Note to myself, when in doubt, asking Michelle Goodwin to come on the show is always a good idea. Thank you for being with us, as always. Professor Michelle Goodwin, who's a professor at Georgetown Law, host of the On the Issues podcast, and author of the increasingly relevant and important book, Policing the Womb. All right, coming up, a TV doctor Donald Trump hired to run Medicare and Medicaid is unleashing artificial intelligence on Medicare approvals that used to be handled by humans. What could possibly go wrong?
If there's one thing that Americans agree on right now, it's that our healthcare system is sick. Our premiums are too high. Our access is shrinking. Americans deserve affordable, quality health care. And AI should not be determining whether you get health care.
This is the farmer's dog beef. Supposedly, this is also beef. But only one is gently cooked and made to human-grade safety standards. Get 50% off your first box only at thefarmersdog.com.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's high absorption magnesium glycinate helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Even on an antidepressant, I was masking my depression. I felt I was missing out on the moments around me. So my doctor prescribed Rexulti.
When added to an antidepressant, Rexulti was proven to significantly reduce depression symptoms, more than an antidepressant alone.
She said Rexulti could provide a boost. For me, less depression meant enjoying the little things.
Elderly people with dementia-related psychosis have increased risk of death or stroke. Antidepressants may increase suicidal thoughts and actions and worsen depression in children and young adults. Call your healthcare provider right away to report new or sudden changes in mood, behavior, thoughts, or feelings, or if you develop suicidal thoughts or actions. Report fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which can be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar can lead to coma or death. Weight gain, increased cholesterol, unusual urges, dizziness on standing, falls, seizures, trouble swallowing, or sleepiness may occur.
Could a boost help you build on your progress?
Ask your doctor about adding Rexulti.
Our family started Cane Brew with a dream and a lot of hard work. Now we're thriving, growing, and hiring. Artificial intelligence has made all the difference for our business. We're a case study for how AI is strengthening American manufacturing. Washington needs to help AI flourish. It's vital to our economic security. We cannot let China dominate these technologies. America must innovate and win. Let's protect our competitive edge.
It looks like an ordinary staircase, but as you age with occasional nerve discomfort that can feel like stabbing or pins and needles in your hands and feet, sometimes stairs can bring worry. As a retired doctor, now that I'm older myself, I take Nervive. Nervive Nerve Relief has ALA to start reducing occasional nerve discomfort in 7 days. Getting older happens, but living with occasional nerve discomfort doesn't have to. Try Nervive like I did and get your freedom back. Feel alive with Nervive.
Hi. Hi. Chocolate fundraiser.
With the Chase mobile app, things move a little more smoothly. Deposit checks easily and send money quickly. That's convenience from Chase. Make more of what's yours.
We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike.
Swimming and golf, worlds apart? Not so fast. Chris Como teams up with Michael Phelps to reveal how elite pool training translates to golf success. Watch Golf versus Swimming, presented by Omega, streaming now on Golf Pass.
Let me paint a picture for you. You're living with chronic debilitating pain. You've got Medicare, and your plan covers a procedure that could bring you immediate and long-term relief, except that your coverage claim just got denied by AI. That's what's happening to many Medicare patients in several states, thanks to a new program by the Trump administration. At the start of the year, Dr. Mehmet Oz, appointed by Donald Trump to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, called CMS, it launched the so-called Wasteful and Inappropriate Service Reduction Model, known as WISER, which is interesting because The letters don't actually match. The agency says the program is designed to reduce spending on unnecessary care using what it calls enhanced technologies, including artificial intelligence and machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of AI that enables computers to learn from data and make decisions. These tools are now being used to review a pre-selected list of medical services that the agency says are most vulnerable to fraud, waste, and abuse. But what's actually happening is that vulnerable people are having their care delayed or even denied. As the Seattle Times explains, quote, that means patients seeking certain medical services now have to wait for a third-party tech company to give them the green light before they can get treatment. The wait for approval can be long and disruptive. The new program adds a first-of-its-kind layer of scrutiny for patients trying to get certain services, as well as for doctors attempting to provide care, end quote. Democratic Congresswoman Becca Balint of Vermont warned about this in September.
Over at the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the administrator, Dr. Oz, yes, that guy, decided to curb waste. He decided they should curb waste by letting the government use AI to decide if your medical procedure is really necessary. That means for-profit companies will use bots to deny care for seniors and working people and will get rich doing it at your expense.
Now, CMS told the Seattle Times that the agency monitors turnaround times and will, quote, refine the model as appropriate. Medicare primarily serves Americans 65 years of age or older, a population that is more likely to experience serious illness and chronic pain. In other words, the people who need timely care the most. So far, the WISER model has been rolled out in 6 states, Arizona, New Jersey, Ohio, Oklahoma, Texas, and Washington. And there are plans to expand it nationwide and to apply it to even more medical services. But just a little more than 2 months in, patients say the impact is already being felt. Treatments that once took days to access are now delayed for weeks or even months or denied altogether. Treatments like those for spinal degeneration and severe back pain. Patients who spoke to the Seattle Times say the delays are, quote, robbing them of their quality of life, end quote. Joining me now is the technology journalist Jacob Ward. He's the host of the podcast The Rip Current and the author of the book The Loop, How AI is Creating a World Without Choices and How to Fight Back. I recommend everybody read this book. It's really, really important and timely. Jacob, my friend, let me ask you something. I would have thought, I've often made the case that you can hate AI for a lot of reasons, but I've always thought in the provision of healthcare and research and the, finding cures to diseases and things, it might actually be more helpful. How come AI being applied to this application in Medicare seems to be making things worse for people?
That's a great question, Ali. And it's true, so I'm constantly accused of being, of not accused, but, I'm a bummer at parties when it comes to this topic a lot of the time, because so much of the time I think about the trouble that AI gets us into. But one of the bright spots has been healthcare. You're absolutely right. You aim, a pattern recognition system at, a huge database of pictures of, discoloration on people's backs, and it can figure out which ones are cancerous and which ones are not better than humans can. I mean, it is an incredible tool for discovering new, chemicals you can synthesize. I mean, there's incredible stuff you can do with it. That's medical. This isn't that. What this is bureaucracy, right? And where people have imposed these sorts of systems on bureaucracy in the past tends to go very wrong. And that's because what WISER is part of a long tradition of basically experimenting on powerless people. That's really what this is. We have seen, since 2013, case after case in which authorities will look at typically a welfare system and do big experimentation on those sorts of systems because the people involved are powerless. It's a place you can make big mistakes and nobody can really push back on you. We've seen this in cases where California during COVID was spiking 1 in 10 unemployment applications because they'd bought an off-the-shelf piece of AI from Thomson Reuters and wound up, creating this just havoc in people's lives. And that's a case where you can't find somebody to get them on the phone and say, hey, the computer did this wrong, right? It's disenfranchising people while automating this kind of thing. And here's the real thing, Ali, I'll just say, there is an incentive mismatch here because the private companies that make systems like WISER typically are paid more for the number of denials their system issues. So they are incentivized not to fix those kinds of mistakes because they make more money off them, Ali.
So I have dry eyes. I have a prescription that I get filled for that, and I've been getting it filled for a while, and suddenly it got denied the other day for no particular reason.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know whether it's AI or not, but I actually can't get a human to say, hey, I've been on this medication, the doctor says I should use it. What's the problem? You've studied this. The idea that you use automation for this doesn't end up solving the problem in some cases. And I don't know, is that because sometimes you just need human intervention for someone to say, hey, Velshi's been getting these eye drops for like 5 years. Why did we suddenly stop? The machine maybe made a mistake.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, I just think we have this long tradition in the United States of believing that efficiency is a good enough reason to experiment on people live in the wild. And everything that we do in the private sector, right, is informed by the idea that you got to make money off of each step of the process of you trying to get the drops that you need, right? But in truth, that may not be a profitable thing. You may need somebody on the phone in such a way that people can get in touch. And so what we're seeing here, I think, is just, this is and there's the case of it, when it's something like I feel for you with the bureaucratic difficulty there, but there are people, I've spoken to, folks at the University of Baltimore, the law clinic there, they have to go in and appeal people who are being denied SNAP benefits, right? Housing.
Yep, that's right. I've got the resources to solve this problem. One way or the other, I've got the time and the luxury and the resources to solve this problem. A lot of people don't.
That's right. Those disempowered people are the people being experimented on first. And in this particular case, it's worth noting here, right, that Dr. Oz is talking about this as if somehow the efficiency will then convince people to trust a system like this. The studies show right now 31% of people over the age of 65 on Medicaid have no trust in, only 31% of them have any trust in a system like this. So that means you've also got somebody at home who's been denied their medical coverage, and they're totally demoralized and have no ability how to even appeal this stuff. So again, it's just experimenting on the powerless, which is a theme we've seen over and over.
It's
again.
One thing to trust AI in a vacuum when it doesn't actually affect you, but if it's actually going to stop you from getting your prescription drugs, I suspect your level of trust is going to decrease. Jacob, as always, thank you so much for helping us understand this little slice by little slice. Jacob Ward is a technology journalist. He's the host of the podcast, The Rip Current, and he's the author of the book, The Loop. We'll be right back.
COPD is an ugly reality.
Do you have his medical history?
I watch as this world just keeps getting smaller. But then, Trelegy helped us see things a little differently. With 3 medicines and 1 inhaler, Trelegy keeps airways open for a full 24 hours and prevents future flare-ups. Once daily Trelegy also improves lung function, so he can breathe more freely all day and night.
Trelegy won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Do not take Trelegy more than prescribed. Trelegy may increase your risk of thrush, pneumonia, and osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur.
Ask your doctor about once daily Trelegy for COPD, because breathing should be beautiful all day and night.
Have you ever felt so sluggish that it was like you were stuck in your chair? Like you didn't feel energetic enough for even routine activity? I've been there. And as a doctor, I knew this could be a sign that my digestive system wasn't working at its best. So I followed the same advice I give my patients and started taking Metamucil fiber every day.
Metamucil is the only leading brand with plant-based psyllium fiber that gels to help trap and remove waste so you can feel lighter in as little as 14 days.
After trying it for 2 weeks, I decided to keep taking Metamucil every day to help meet my health goals.
Metamucil psyllium fiber also helps curb cravings between meals, helps lower cholesterol to support heart health, and helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels. That's why Metamucil is the #1 fiber brand recommended by doctors, pharmacists,
and gastroenterologists like me.
Metamucil. Digestive health starts here. Scan to shop or visit these fine retailers today.
Yep, that's there. Is the gauge supposed to say empty?
You can't trust those things. Don't worry, we're tethered for safety.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future.
Are you certified for this?
Technically, no.
Especially when it comes to your finances.
Do you have a question?
Are you a certified financial planner?
Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
My moderate to severe plaque psoriasis held me back, but now I'm all in with clearer skin, thanks to Skyrizi.
Most people achieved clearer skin from head to toe. Many were 100% plaque-free. And many were completely clear, even at 5 years.
People also saw significant improvement in pain, redness, itching, and burning.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin that's my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Really happy to have you here. Happy Monday. I have some stuff to show you guys. If we are trying to backstop our democracy, part of it is Congress asserting itself. How hard has it been to get this information? Can I just get your take, your read on what's going on here? Trump has never been less powerful. The agenda he's pursuing has never been more evident and more unpopular. The people on the other side of this fight, they know the way they're going to save American democracy is by using American democratic means to do so.
Donald Trump has run out of political solutions for the political problems that he's created, so now he's taking a different approach. One look at the poll numbers will explain why he's leaning so heavily into election meddling himself. We're watching Capitol Hill, where the Senate is in session this weekend and expected to start voting in the next hour on Trump's signature voter suppression bill known as the SAVE Act. Plus, the latest on the ground in the war with Iran and my conversation with Congresswoman Madeleine Dean, who sits on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And today's meeting of the Velshi Band Book Club features Toni Morrison's award-winning novel Song of Solomon. I'll be digging into why Morrison's work is particularly important right now with Tayari Jones, author of the brand new blockbuster novel Kin. Another hour of Velshi begins after the break.
Sunscreen, swim diapers, SPF sun shirt, 2 fans, baby powder, and 1 floaty.
Sun hat.
Sun hat.
Cash back on first-time parent wins. Earn 3% at drugstores, and so much more. With Chase Freedom Unlimited.
Dry eye still gritty, scratchy, and tired? With MyBo, eyes can feel MyBo. MyBo is the only prescription dry eye drop that targets too much tear evaporation by forming a protective layer. Don't use if allergic to MyBo. Remove contacts before using. Wait at least 30 minutes before putting them back in. Eye redness and blurred vision may occur. Ask your eye doctor about MyBo.
Set sail toward fast asthma relief with Brethora.
$300 for a refill?
Don't pay that. Use Single Care. Look up your prescription, show the coupon to the pharmacist, and save.
Really?
Really. Single Care is free to use and available to everyone.
Single Care even beats my insurance.
It's the single best solution to high prices. And unlike this sunset, the savings are real.
See why more people are saving with Single Care. Common side effects include deep prescription discounts, sudden euphoria, and high-fiving pharmacists.
The investors pulled our funding. What do we do?
I'd go tumblers.
Like acrobats?
No, custom branded tumblers from Custom Ink.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, our logo.
Let's fucking go!
With over 10,000 swag options, Ink is more than you think.
It looks like an ordinary staircase, but as you age with occasional nerve discomfort that can feel like stabbing or pins and needles in your hands and feet, sometimes stairs can bring worry. As a retired doctor, now that I'm older myself, I take Nervive. Nervive Nerve Relief has ALA to start reducing occasional nerve discomfort in 7 days. Getting older happens, but living with occasional nerve discomfort doesn't have to. Try Nervive like I did and get your freedom back. Feel alive with Nervive.
Go ahead, crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
A HomeServe story. Kim's home water line broke. She's panicking because she can't find a contractor. Pam's line broke too, but she's not worried because she has a plan from HomeServe. Kim settled for this guy. Pam had a qualified HomeServe contractor. Kim was shocked by her bill. Pam's plan paid for the cost of covered repairs. Choose HomeServe or chance it.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month. Call 1-833-517-9393 or visit homeserve.com.
Work shouldn't leave you feeling stiff or sore. You deserve a happier, healthier workday. That starts with a better workspace. One where you can stand a little, move a little, and feel a lot better. Barry has everything you need for head-to-toe comfort, with standing desks, ergonomic seating, and accessories, so you can work well and live well. And right now, you can save 20% site-wide at Very.com.
Good morning. It is Saturday, March the 21st. I'm Ali Velshi. In August of 2014, a man named Wayne Fish went to a Divisions of Vehicles office in Lawrence, Kansas, to renew his driver's license. And while he was there, he availed himself of the opportunity to register to vote. He left the vehicles office that day believing he had, in fact, registered to vote, but he had not. The Department of Vehicles did not inform him that Kansas had recently passed a law which required documentary proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. So Fish got a letter in the mail saying that his registration application was incomplete and he had to provide proof of citizenship, which is way harder than it might seem in a country in which there are absolutely zero other reasons to ever need documentary proof of your citizenship. Couldn't find his birth certificate. When he attempted to replace his birth certificate from his place of birth, because he wasn't born in Kansas, he ran into another problem. He was born on what was by then a decommissioned Air Force base in Illinois. So 2 years and an entire election cycle later, Fish finally found his birth certificate in a safe that belonged to his late mother. The Secretary of State in Kansas at the time, Chris Kobach, had championed a law that would require people who register to vote to provide documentary proof of citizenship. Now, again, I just want to remind you, I travel a ton. You have to have a passport if you travel. If you don't travel a ton, there's virtually no reason to ever need these documents. So the thing in Kansas was called the SAFE Act, the Secure and Fair Election Act. I love the way they name these things. And in its brief lifespan before a judge threw it out in 2018, it prevented 30,000 Kansans from registering to vote. You want to guess? By the way, that 30,000 included Wayne Fish, because he was one of the plaintiffs in the suit that got the law overturned. But of those 30,000, how many do you think were non-citizens? According to the judge's ruling, the Kansas Secretary of State's office presented a spreadsheet. These are the people who made the law. They presented a spreadsheet of all the names of the non-citizens who attempted to register to vote between 2013 and 2016. Take a guess. Come on. Take a guess how many names were on that spreadsheet. If you guessed 16 pages, you'd be wrong. There were 16 names in total, of which several had administrative errors. One woman, for instance, wrongfully registered by the Kansas Department of Vehicles, wrote to the agency, quote, "Please put in the record that I am not a citizen. I cannot vote." She underlined "am not" and "I cannot vote," because that woman wanted to make it crystal clear, because attempting to vote as a non-citizen is against the law everywhere in the United States and will almost certainly end someone's hope for naturalization. It could, in fact, get them prosecuted or deported. Kansas's SAFE Act was deemed unconstitutional. The problem that they supposedly created it to solve was deemed non-existent. You can take stats from every state in this country and you'll find that citizens voting is a non-existent problem. By now, 8 years later, this precise brand of long-discredited, blunt force voter suppression looks like a golden ticket to Donald Trump, who's desperate to overcome the deep unpopularity that his party faces under his leadership in this cycle. So the president is going all in on the SAVE Act, the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. He is so into this bill that he declared on social media that he would not sign a single bill before the SAVE Act is sent to his desk. The SAVE Act, currently up for debate in the Senate, which is in session today, would implement requirements for voter registration that are stricter than the current standard in any state except Ohio. It requires documentary proof of citizenship when registering to vote, and in some cases, when voting. It bans universal mail-in voting, and if you do register by mail, you have to visit an elections office in person to verify that document again, which kind of negates the point of registering by mail. If you change party affiliation, which you're allowed to do, probably encouraged to do in this country, it's likely you'll need to present that proof again. If you're in a state which offers same-day voting and registration, you'd have to bring those citizenship documents to a polling place. If you're one of the 69 million women in America who's changed their last name because of marriage, your birth certificate would not be sufficient because the name wouldn't match, and you'd be required to provide yet more documentation, like a passport if you have one. But about 52% of Americans don't have a passport. More than 21 million Americans of voting age would not have the necessary proof of citizenship readily available. That's according to research from the Brennan Center for Justice. There is an exception which would allow election officials to sign an affidavit affirming a voter's citizenship even if they lack this paperwork. But that is another burden of administration placed upon election officials in a bill that's full of new responsibilities and liabilities for election officials. So there's no incentive to really help people with this. And there's also no funding to support these new requirements. Again, I remind you, our country is not built on citizens carrying around their papers. A passport has virtually no use within this country's borders. So unless you need one to go elsewhere, you may go years or decades without needing one. I travel all the time. I know where my passport is all the time. But if you don't, why would you need one? And as I've said before, our problem is not non-citizens voting. Our problem in America right now is citizens not voting. Midterm turnouts hover around 40%. For primaries, which can make all the difference in a heavily Republican or heavily Democratic district, turnout's even lower. So why is the president so obsessed with this effort to make it harder to vote?
I'm not doing it for this reason at all. It'll guarantee the midterms. It'll guarantee the midterms. If you don't get it, big trouble, my opinion. If you get this, your midterms, and they know it. You got to win the midterms. Because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, I mean, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached.
Ah, there it is. Trump himself seems to believe that voter suppression is the only way Republicans can win, and Republicans winning is the only way he'll avoid a third impeachment, because this is a president who is increasingly running out of political solutions to his political problems. The worse the economy gets, the clearer it becomes that he's got no real plan for this war of choice in Iran. The lower his approval ratings drop, the more he fixates on the SAVE Act. If they're going to vote against you, just don't let them vote. Joining me now, Angelo Carusone, chairman and president of Media Matters for America, a nonprofit media watchdog, and Wendy Weiser, a constitutional lawyer and vice president for democracy at the Brennan Center for Justice, upon whom we rely for many of our statistics on these matters. Thanks to both of you for being here. Angelo, it's not really part of the discussion, but it's the most important part to me, what Donald Trump just said there, that if you don't do this, you won't win, meaning to Republicans, and if you don't win, I get impeached. Kind of beginning and end of the segment to me.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a tie in there too, because one layer beneath that, throughout the larger right-wing media, one of the things that they're saying over and over again is that it's not just going to end with Donald Trump. They're going to get revenge on all Republicans, on all MAGA people, trying to create some incentive to really lean into what Trump has said explicitly is designed to ensure that they win the midterms.
Wendy, there's this thing going around in these hearings coming from Republicans mostly about voting is for citizens, and why shouldn't you have to prove ID? Those two are different issues. They're two separate issues. Voting is for citizens, and ID requirements are a different thing. This is not a normal ID requirement.
No, I think you laid it out very well. This goes well beyond asking people to show IDs at their polls. It requires every eligible American to go in person to an elections office and bring their passport or birth certificate, not only when they register, but when they re-register to vote. As you said, 21 million Americans do not have those documents. And it doesn't only do this. It would end mail registration. It would end online registration. It would require states to hand over all of your sensitive private voter data to the Department of Homeland Security. It might even lead to widespread purges of eligible voters from the voter rolls. This is a vote suppression bill, pure and simple.
So, Angela, and I think this is a issue for you because you're a critic of how media handles things. How do we express to people that you can't, in a country that has made a decision to not be a papers, please country, decide to do this stuff? Because as a guy who gets his passport renewed as regularly as he should, it's actually harder than it should be. They're making it easier. It's kind of online, but it still actually costs a good amount of money. And getting a birth certificate replaced is actually a much more complicated procedure. Getting a naturalization certificate replaced is a truly more complicated procedure than that. We're not built for this.
Yeah, I think that's the right question to ask, because if you just look at the politics of it, right, it doesn't really seem to be about getting the bill passed into law. I mean, I'm sure they would be happy to have that happen, but that doesn't really seem what's the case, right? Because lots of other legislation is in the same bucket, but it's considered dead on arrival and nobody talks about it, right? They can't break the filibuster, according to Thune himself, and so what's the point of all of this? And I think that's it. The point of all of this is the debate. Is the opportunity for them to get out there and sow the seeds of misinformation, of deceit, of a feeling that the election is being stolen, to preload a narrative for after Democrats, in theory, win the midterms, that they can come back around and say, see how not legitimate it is? They stole it. We tried to prevent it, but you wouldn't let it happen. And in the meantime, they get to preload the narrative, put all this misinformation out there. And so to your point, the question is, we should talk about how bad the policy is. As is noted, the legislation itself, but we should be doing what we're doing more broadly here, which is actually getting into why are they doing this? Yeah. And more importantly, not only why are they doing this, but how much easier it can actually be. And I really do appreciate that you focus on all the people that don't register in the first place, because that's the so what and the significance of the other side. Instead of just shaking fists in frustration, you can get to the solutions.
Wendy, let's talk about the nature of the underlying problem that Donald Trump says we have. I spoke last week to the Secretary of State from Arizona. This morning, I spoke to the Secretary of State from Michigan. Secretaries of State run audits. It's in their interest to run elections properly. The percentage of non-citizens who register to vote, in many cases, they're mistakes, by the way, but the percentage is tiny. It's got 4 zeros before it. It's not a thing, and it's punishable. It's seriously punishable anywhere in this country. There's no actual incentive for a non-citizen to try to vote in this country. Only bad things will happen to you if you get caught.
And actually, recent reviews by the Trump administration itself keep on reaffirming that. They are running these checks. They are trying to gather up. They have a few willing states who've turned over their voter rolls, and they are turning up only small handfuls of non-citizens who are even on the voter rolls, and those are being further investigated and whittled down. This is not a problem. This is actually not the goal of this. This is a key element of the president's broader campaign to meddle in elections. He says he wants to nationalize the voting, take over the voting. The SAVE Act, he has said now this is his #1 priority. Yep. And he's not going to sign anything else.
We're in the middle of a war. We've got high prices, but the #1 priority is getting people to prove their citizenship for voting in a country that does not have a problem with non-citizens voting.
And a whole bunch of other things that would upend elections and make it completely impossible this year to do those elections. This is not what the Americans' priorities are. This is the president.
Angelo, is there a counter effort to this? We're a week away from No Kings. Is there an effort to say, maybe we shouldn't have 40% turnout in midterm elections? Maybe we shouldn't have 60% turnout in presidential elections? Maybe your obligation as a citizen of this country, and I don't want to be lectury about this, but is there a way to convince people that you can at least try and overcome this by registering and showing up to vote?
That's exactly. I mean, yeah, it's going to come from the bottom up, and that's sort of one of the differences here. One of the what Trump is doing. 1,000 times on Fox News they've talked about it in the last 3 weeks. 700 times on Newsmax. I mean, it's been off the charts, right? It's top down. They are driving this, and they're sort of enforcing this narrative. The antidote is actually not going to come from some overarching big national singular figure that creates a center of gravity. There's going to be a catalyst that then inspires that peer-to-peer conversations. And that's why it's so dastardly for them to be pushing on this particular thing in the first place, because the very thing that once you catalyze somebody to action, increasing any barriers or the implied threats that it's somehow going to boomerang back around you makes it harder for you to take that first step in the first place. But I do think that's the antidote, is that it doesn't have to be this way. And the only answer is that. There is no other alternative. You actually have to do something, and that's what people are doing with this peer-to-peer.
So, Wendy, I want to be clear because you at Brennan have numbers that you attach to this. One very, very large group is women. Women who either changed their names for whatever reason, whether they got married or maybe got married and got divorced again. Now they say bring your birth certificate. Your birth certificate's not going to match your driver's license. You're literally just going to disenfranchise a whole lot of women.
Yeah, well, 69 million married women have changed their names. That is the vast majority of married women, and they would have to jump through extra hurdles just to be able to register to vote under this bill. Rural Americans, overseas Americans, I mean, how are they going to get in person to an elections office? There are so many people from all walks of life that are going to be impacted if this passes. And again, nothing else is happening in the Senate right now while this is going on.
This is remarkable. The United States Senate is working on a Saturday, not to discuss war powers, right? Not to discuss whether there should be this war in Iran, not to discuss why 13 Americans are dead, not to discuss why 200 plus American soldiers are killed, why several thousand people are dead and 1 million people are displaced. We're discussing this.
Yeah, I mean, that is an illustration of the power of Trump's narrative dominance, or at least the narrative engine that props him up, is that it isn't just that he gets to control people's attention or shape it. It's that he has this political lever that he can actually make them do something on a Saturday, let alone, that has nothing to do with reality, but has to do with what's happening in his own head and sort of this larger arc that he's interested in.
Every human I talk to, I'm sure it's the same for both of you, when they talk about what a crazy world we're in and what's going on, they don't bring up non-citizens voting in elections. Like, I don't think that makes the top 1,000 of things that Americans are worrying about, nor should they be. Thanks to both of you. Angela Carasone is the chairman and president of Media Matters for America. Wendy Weiser is the vice president for democracy at the Brennan Center for Justice. All right, coming up, we're checking in on our friend Betty and how she and her family are faring with rising gas prices caused by the war in Iran, and what history can tell us about oil price spikes and what might be coming next.
Why'd I go to the doctor? When my heart kept skipping a beat, I didn't think much of it. But my girls made me get checked out, and it made such a difference. Turns out, I have AFib, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you notice one or more of these symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did, and my girls are too.
This is no time to wait.
Forget the warm-up. DirecTV got hot. They're on fire with more MLB games than anyone. Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
How old are you?
11.
Sorry, bud. Not while I weed.
Hey! Who let the dogs out? Spruce, a new weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people, pets, and bees. Spruce works differently by dehydrating down to the roots for dead weeds in just 1 day.
Spruce works.
Spruce, pet friendly, weed deadly.
Then I realized the more you bundle, the more you save on insurance with Liberty Bibbity.
It's like you're talking my love language.
Well, I've been taking word classes online.
Wow.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Age-related memory decline? Meet new Cunol Brain Health, the first and only tablet to combine 2 high-absorption ingredients, clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Trust Cunol for more comprehensive brain health support.
My mom is the most caring, helpful person. But when she got diabetes, it was hard for her to put her health first. With Dexcom G7, she's learned how to control her diabetes so she can be her amazing self.
Did you know you can relieve everyday aches and pains with odor-free Aspercreme? Maximum strength lidocaine targets nerves fast for soothing and numbing pain relief. Try Aspercreme, the #1 pharmacist-recommended topical anesthetic.
Noom's going micro. Micro habits, micro wins, microdose GLP-1s.
I'm stuck. My weight won't budge.
Been there, but Noom can help.
Bye plateau.
Hello, micro. Get started at Noom.com.
Kalshi is available nationwide and lets you live trade against others on anything. Like sports, grocery prices.
2 hands now.
Reality TV, even the weather.
Ow.
Trade on anything with Kalshi.
Oh no! Our water line broke.
It could cost a fortune to get a contractor to come fix it, and it's not covered by homeowners insurance.
That's why you should have HomeServe.
It's Tom Rusin, CEO of HomeServe.
When your water line breaks, HomeServe sends a qualified contractor to fix it and pays for the covered repairs.
With HomeServe, the American dream of owning a home doesn't need to be a nightmare.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month.
Call 1-888-246-2612 or visit homeserve.com.
Kalshi is available nationwide and lets you live trade against others on anything. Like sports, grocery prices,
2 hands now,
reality TV, even the weather.
Ouch.
Trade on anything with Kalshi.
I've sailed upon the 7 seas and stopped in every land and seen the wonders of the world, but not yet one common man. I note the obvious differences in every sort and type, but we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike.
All right, I'm here with our friend Caleb Silver. He's the chief business editor at People, Inc. He's the editor-in-chief of Investopedia. Right now, everybody's talking about it. Gas prices are soaring across the country, almost at $4 a gallon as a national average, $5.65 or something like that if you're in California. This is all because of the war in Iran and a near-total block on the crucial Strait of Hormuz. Now, spikes in oil prices have happened throughout history. So Caleb and I are going to take a trip through time with our old friend Betty. We got a little twist. Betty and Betty's mother, Barbara. That's little baby Betty. Back in the 1970s, Betty was just an infant. Between doctor's appointment and grocery runs, Barbara, Betty's mother, was keeping busy, and she was feeling the pain at the gas pump. Because in October of 1973, some of the members of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, known as OPEC, announced a total oil embargo on countries, including the U.S., that had supported Israel in the Arab-Israeli war. By the time the embargo was lifted in March of 1974, the price of oil had risen 400%. Now, it had gone from $3 a barrel to $12 a barrel, but that contributed to a 48% contraction in the stock market and a recession that would last through the spring of 1975. Unemployment hit 9%. We're under 5% right now. But that's what a whole lot of people remember.
Yeah, and ask your parents, ask your grandparents about those no gas at this gas station.
Right, lineups.
Lineups for hours and hours just to get gasoline. This had a debilitating effect on the economy, put the U.S. economy into a long period of stagflation. That's high prices, low growth, and very low employment, and that's not what we want to see. This was extreme, a 4x spike in oil prices.
And by the way, hard to get out of. It did have one interesting effect. It got rid of big cars in America and created the small car.
Yeah, welcome
craze.
to the sedan.
That's right. Welcome to the sedan. All right, let's go back to let's go forward now to 1990. Betty is now a senior in high school. She and her mom are doing a lot of traveling. They're visiting prospective colleges. Once again, filling up the car for those trips is hurting their wallet, this time because of the Gulf War. Oil prices more than doubled. They had started at $17 a barrel and jumped to $36 a barrel. Consumer confidence collapsed. The economy entered another recession. Unemployment peaked at 7.8% in the spring of 1992. Little more in common with what we're seeing
this
today.
is a lot closer to what we're seeing today because this is supply destruction in a key part of the world where oil is produced, and we know the Strait of Hormuz is right there. So this is very much like kind of what we're seeing today. This lasted for an extended period of time because we didn't know how long this war was going to last either. It ended up being many years longer than what people thought. You had a big spike in oil prices there. You had sort of the beginning of a huge run-up in inflation. What did the Federal Reserve have to do? Raise interest rates to cool that down, and that had a very profound effect on the economy.
That's super hard, though, because if you're paying more for gas or energy in your house and then they raise interest rates, you're just paying more for life.
Everything just costs more, and we might be nearing a phase like that right now.
That's why this is an interesting one. All right, let's jump forward in time to 2008. Caleb and I were awful busy then. It was the United States in the middle of a massive financial crisis. Betty had a newborn son of her own, Bobby, whom you know. Grandma Barbara is living with them to save money. Gas prices spiked because of strong demand for oil amid stagnating production around the entire world. The price of oil more than doubling again. It was $60 a barrel, went up to $143 a barrel. But then oil prices collapsed to just $35 a barrel by the end of 2008.
Right. This didn't cause the great financial crisis, but it sort of got us set up for it. And when the bottom fell out of the housing market, you had these incredibly high prices. You had inflation everywhere. This took the stock market down about 50%, and it wrecked a lot of people's careers. It took people years to get out of the economic hole from the great financial crisis. But it just shows you how profound the impacts of these rising oil prices have on all of us. It's not just at the gas pump.
Correct.
That's where we feel it on a daily basis. But everything
you do and everything you get and everything is delivered to your house, every plane you take, every piece of food you get from a farm, all of it. You're paying. The gas prices are the obvious ones. Right. But it's not the only place it hits.
And you see them on the highway every day or when you go to fill up. But you're getting it in every derivative product of oil and petroleum. And that's kind of what happened then.
So let's go to the not too distant past, early 2022. Russia just invaded Ukraine. Betty, Bobby, and Grandma Barbara are just trying to make it past the hump of the COVID pandemic. Worldwide, countries embargo Russian oil. And as a result of that, Russian oil being taken off the market, prices for oil rose 70%, going from $70 a barrel to $120 a barrel, a number that we've actually just hit in the last few weeks. This did not kick off a recession, but the economic impact was widely felt because what you call real incomes ended up falling, and the U.S. aggressively ended up hiking interest rates.
Hiking interest rates has kicked off a bear market. We had one of those in the past 5 years. That was the year that happened. This caused a tremendous amount of instability. Supply chains were blocked every which way. We didn't know where oil was going to come from. Ironically, the U.S. buying oil from Russia now to make sure we have enough supply, but this upended oil supplies. It upended the entire global capital markets as well.
So we've seen Brent, which is the worldwide price of oil, hitting about $120 at various times in the last few weeks. We've seen the U.S. price above 100 at some point. Unlike other things like tariffs, where a company might pass it on to the consumer or not, that's not how it works with oil. 100% of the increase in the price of oil will be felt. So if you're thinking oil's about $4 a gallon right now, it's probably going to go higher.
Yeah, do the math like this. Every $10 increase in crude oil prices means about a quarter a gallon, another quarter to a $0.50 a gallon. So as oil prices rise, gas prices rise. But it's the bottom of the barrel that we want to think about, too. That's the crude. That's where diesel comes from. Right. That's where jet fuel comes from. That's where the fuel to power big rigs comes from. Right. That's where a lot of industrial production gets its fuel from. Those prices are spiking in. Oil trades 23 hours a day, 6 days a week. So a lot of companies buy it into the future. We're already hearing from companies like United Airlines saying, we could see oil prices of $150, $160. Wow. We're going to cut capacity. We may have to charge more for our seats. Airline prices are already rising. This is an overall inflationary effect, and we don't know how long it's going to last.
All right, Caleb, thank you. As always, Caleb Silver is the chief business editor at People Inc. and the editor-in-chief at Investopedia. All right, coming up, my conversation with the Pennsylvania Congresswoman and member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Madeleine Dean. That's next.
It doesn't sit well with us. Your hard-earned money sitting in traditional bank accounts, collecting more dust than interest. So we reimagined savings with Vanguard Cash Plus to offer up to 8 times more interest.
I like that.
Vanguard.
Have you ever felt so sluggish that it was like you were stuck in your chair? Like you didn't feel energetic enough for even routine activity? I've been there. And as a doctor, I knew this could be a sign that my digestive system wasn't working at its best. So I followed the same advice I give my patients and started taking Metamucil fiber every day.
Metamucil is the only leading brand with plant-based psyllium fiber that gels to help trap and remove waste so you can feel lighter in as little as 14 days.
After trying it for 2 weeks, I decided to keep taking Metamucil every day to help meet my health goals.
Metamucil psyllium fiber also helps curb cravings between meals, helps lower cholesterol to support heart health, and helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels. That's why Metamucil is the #1 fiber brand recommended by doctors, pharmacists,
and gastroenterologists like me.
Metamucil. Digestive health starts here. Scan to shop or visit these fine retailers today.
She's cleaning the shower. They're cleaning the shower. Doesn't look like it, right? Wet and Forget Shower does all the work for you. Wet and Forget is the once-a-week shower cleaner that lets you go live life. Rinsing? Forget it. Scrubbing? Forget it. There's a reason Wet and Forget Shower has over 40,000 five-star reviews. Wet and Forget Shower is a bleach-free, quick and easy once-a-week spray that goes to work on contact, giving you back what matters most, your free time. Don't forget to get yours at a retailer near you.
You play by the rules. Then things happen. prices keep climbing, every month a new expense, and the debt adds up. So how do you face it? It starts with a call, then a plan. At National Debt Relief, we'll negotiate with your creditors so you pay less than you owe. And just like that, you're back on track. When debt happens, we're here to help you take action. And this is where your new chapter begins. Call or visit GoNDR.com to get started.
We found a trustworthy pro on Angie who put so much care into our kitchen.
He treated it like it was his baby.
So when we needed a godfather for our baby, I couldn't trust anyone else.
Here you go. I do kitchens.
Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need? Now you can sell your policy, even a term policy, for an immediate cash payment. Call Coventry Direct to learn more.
We thought we had planned carefully for our retirement.
But we quickly realized we needed a way to supplement our income.
Our friends sold their policy to help pay their medical bills. And that got me thinking. Maybe selling our policy could help with our retirement.
I was skeptical. So I did some research and called Coventry Direct. They explained life insurance is a valuable asset that can be sold.
We learned we could sell all of our policy or keep part of it with no future payments. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we can relax and enjoy our retirement as we had planned.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may qualify to sell your policy. Don't cancel or let your policy lapse without finding out what it's worth. Visit CoventryDirect.com to find out if your policy qualifies, or call 1-800-513-7100. Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
Whenever heartburn strikes, get fast relief with Tums, so you can enjoy the food you love.
When dry eyes need a boost,
blink. Ready, set, blink.
Up to 10 hours of relief to help you keep going. Relief with every blink.
The war with Iran has entered the fourth week, and MS Now has learned that the Trump administration is now sending an additional 2,500 Marines and 3 more warships to the Middle East. That's in addition to the 2,500 U.S. Marines and 3 warships the administration separately deployed last week, and on top of tens of thousands of American troops and assets that are already in the region. 13 U.S. service members have died so far in the war. 232 have been wounded, including 10 seriously. Overnight, Iran reportedly launched 2 ballistic missiles at joint U.S. military base Diego Garcia. That's according to the Wall Street Journal, citing multiple U.S. officials. And as you can see, Diego Garcia is located almost 2,500 miles away from Iran. It's in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Importantly, this marks a significant attempt by Iran to attack U.S. assets beyond the Middle East. Just hours ago, Iranian state media reported that its Natanz nuclear facility was attacked. That facility is one of Iran's 3 main nuclear enrichment facilities. Notably, it's the same one that was targeted during last year's U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign. President Trump said then that the facility was, quote, completely and totally obliterated. DNI Chief Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe both stated back then that the site would take years to rebuild. All right, joining me now is the Democratic Congresswoman Madeleine Dean of Pennsylvania. Congresswoman Dean serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congresswoman, good to see you. I was just speaking, I don't know if you heard it, I was having a conversation with our correspondent Inzamam Rashid in Dubai, and he very diplomatically said that these Gulf allies of ours are getting up this morning a little bit confused about what the point of this is. They bombed the Natanz facility in Iran that Israel and the U.S. said was destroyed last June. Kind of weird that we're in this war to do something we apparently did 9 months ago.
Well, good morning. Good to be with you. And he has every right to be confused. I'm confused. Our allies are confused. And our enemies are pleased with the passing fancy of this president. He's so erratic. We can't tell why he chose this war of choice. He never made the case to the American people, certainly never came to Congress as required under a constitutional republic. But he never made the case to the American people. As 13 service members have died, as tens of thousands of members are in the region, as you just reported, 2,500 more Marines going to the region, 200 plus service members injured, and take a look at the rubble. That is what I think this administration pays no attention to. people's lives in ruin, the suffering, the rubble, the schoolgirls who were killed on day one. I can't understand this administration. You have Christy Hegseth, as I see him, playing this as a video game, and the president just has everything as a passing fancy with no consequence, with no understanding of the grave human losses here.
Yeah, I think I really appreciate you bringing this up, because one might think, if one doesn't follow the news, these are our enemies, and people, sometimes innocent people, die when you bomb. There's just no good reason for that. It's not just the Iranian girls. I mean, there's thousands of people dead in Iran. There's people dead all over the region in our allied countries, in Israel.
Yes.
None of which needed to happen because no one has articulated why anybody needs to die, including our 13 service members and the more than 200 service members who are injured, 10 of whom are injured very seriously. For what reason?
It hasn't been given. And I can tell you, not only has it not been given publicly, it hasn't been given in the classified briefings that I have sat in on. I have to admit to you, what we heard in the classified briefings, I can't identify much of anything that was classified. And there was no straight answer as to the imminence. In fact, we have heard members of the administration say there was no imminence, as to what the mission was. Is it about nuclear enrichment? Is it about the missiles? Is it about decapitation? No answers along those lines. And very critically, no answers along what's the end game? When do we get out? How many more lives will be lost?
I'm a little surprised at the lack of resistance coming from your Republican colleagues, but you are on a committee that's actually directly related to this. Are your Republican colleagues on the committee saying American lives are being put on the line for this? There had better be a valid reason why any Americans died in the pursuit of this thing, and more will die. I mean, J.D. Vance talks about it like it's a video game. He says, hey, people died. That's what happens.
No, they are not saying, at least behind closed doors where I am, they are not saying it. They're not parting company with the president. Again, drained of their humanity and their constitutional authority. I serve on both foreign affairs. I feel so fortunate to be on foreign affairs, but I also am on the Appropriations Committee. And you know that this administration has put before us the request for $200 billion more for this excursion, as the president calls it. A strike operation. You know, I care an awful lot about language. Watch the language around this excursion, all to avoid the use of the word war. And I see the Republicans playing along with this Orwellian nightmare.
If it's an excursion, you don't need $200 billion for it. Congresswoman, thank you for being with us. The Democratic Congresswoman Madeleine Dean of Pennsylvania. All right, coming up, another meeting of the Velshi Band Book Club. Today's features Toni Morrison's famed and award-winning novel, Song of Solomon. I'll talk about its relevance with Tayari Jones, the author of the brand-new blockbuster novel, Kin.
New Mr. Clean Magic Erasers make impossible possible. Just wet and squeeze and effortlessly cut through 100% of dirt, grease, and grime. So this is
100% possible.
They're upgraded and last 2 times longer to tackle more messes. It's not just clean, it's Mr. Clean.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dry premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
In a world where people may miss a warning signal from their body, one woman...
Hello?
Okay, 2 women are spreading the word.
People with high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes.
Like my mommy and you, Chica.
Our kidneys could be sending out an SOS.
About increased risk like heart attack or stroke.
Don't miss the signal. Ask your doctor about a simple urine test called UACR and join our mission.
I just got my permit!
You know what's all good? 0 heartburn.
That's why I take Prilosec OTC. Just one pill a day blocks heartburn before it starts. Unlike my friend here popping antacids all day. Give me those. Prilosec OTC. One pill, zero heartburn. All good.
Thinking of updating my kitchen. Thinking of redoing our kitchen. We are finally updating our kitchen.
For all those people who never seem to get around to
Breakfast
it,
note.
Chase has financial guidance.
See how you can start saving. Really?
Really? At home or in person. That's guidance from Chase.
No one has ever loved me like my dad.
Oh, what are you
For as long as I can remember, he's been my best friend and biggest fan. He always kept me safe.
My goodness, you did so good.
And taught me to stand on my own 2 feet.
Watch your steps. Let's go right. Let's go.
He was behind me every step of the way. He gave me the world. So I want to make his a little safer. With a Safe Step walk-in tub, I can show him that. With the Lowe's Step-In, he can easily get in, sit back, and have a relaxing bath, giving us both peace of mind. Because he means the world to me.
Call 1-800-760-4455. Call now.
So much stuff.
Move past pain with Vicks VapoFreeze. Get hours of pain relief with maximum strength menthol, plus powerful Vicks Vapors.
College!
VapoFreeze your pain.
On our podcast, Clock It, we are positioning ourselves at the intersection of culture and politics.
Clock It is where we talk about what we see and hear in the news so you can start to clock it too.
Clock It with Simone and Eugene. Listen now. New episodes drop Thursdays. MS Now Premium gives you early access and ad-free listening to all of MS Now's original podcasts, including Rachel Maddow Presents Burn Order, plus exclusive bonus content, and all your favorite shows ad-free. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
In 2004, right after George W. Bush was elected for the second time, Toni Morrison had this to say, quote, "This is precisely the time when artists go to work. There is no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. We speak, we write, we do language. That is how civilizations heal. I know the world is bruised and bleeding, and though it is important not to ignore its pain, it is also critical to refuse to succumb to its malevolence. Like failure, chaos contains information that can lead to knowledge, even wisdom, like art," end quote. I don't think you ever need an excuse to revisit Toni Morrison or her work. There's never a bad time to open Beloved or The Bluest Eye for the first time or for the 100th time. And after reading that passage, in a world so desperately in need of the healing that she speaks of, it is time for the Velshi Band Book Club to turn to Toni Morrison once again. Today's feature is Toni Morrison's award-winning third novel, a work that, depending on who you ask, is her greatest, Song of Solomon. The novel begins with a death and with a birth. Quote, "The North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance agent promised to fly from Mercy to the other side of Lake Superior at 3 o'clock. Standing on the roof of a building, the insurance agent jumps to his death. The trauma of his death causes Ruth, who is among the townspeople watching from the ground below, to go into labor. Her baby, who becomes known by the nickname Milkman, grows up to be disillusioned, selfish, and even from childhood unable to return the love and devotion that he receives from his mother, his sisters, and his Aunt Pilot. Although born to a prominent black doctor and landowner, the painful legacy of slavery is still a wound that is untreated. By age 32, Milkman is restless and resentful. He leaves home in search of a fortune, bars of gold allegedly hidden by his Aunt Pilot. What Milkman finds, however, is more valuable: an understanding of his past, his heritage, and as a result, an understanding of himself. When we read Beloved on the Velshi Band Book Club last year, I said that this is one of those novels that's difficult to summarize because its nuance and its lyrical language and its themes are as inherent to the story as the bones of the plot. I think this is even more true of the Song of Solomon. Author Tayari Jones, who wrote the new introduction for Song of Solomon, agrees, quote, "Morrison's gift lies in the even-handedness of her passions. Her layered characters engaged in layered relationships, ponder layered dilemmas upon a layered landscape. These situations are varied in color and texture, like the rocky cliffs that line some seashores. And adhering these details, these dynamics and facts and fictions and actions and ideas is language. With Morrison, it always comes back to language, end quote. Although Song of Solomon follows a man, it is a story about women. It is a story about what becomes of the women who are left behind, abandoned, so that men might be free to take flight, to find themselves, to embark on their own hero's journey. And because it's Morrison, Song of Solomon is about so much more than that: the alienation of racism, the power of names and oral tradition, liberation, the importance of community, the lasting effect of slavery in this country, trauma, and how foundational and necessary it is to understand your lineage and background in order to understand yourself. So right after a quick commercial break, I'll be joined by Tayari Jones, author of the latest foreword for Song of Solomon and many of her own important novels, including the brand new novel, Kin.
If you have wet AMD or DME, you never want to lose sight of the things you love. And your condition doesn't have to steal the moment. Long-lasting EYLEA HD delivers powerful vision improvements that can save your vision for the future. EYLEA HD is the only treatment for wet AMD and DME that helped at least 8 out of 10 people go up to 4 months between injections after 3 initial monthly treatments. Don't take EYLEA HD if you have an eye infection, eye pain, redness, or are allergic to it. Eye injections like EYLEA HD may cause eye infection, separation of the retina, rare but severe swelling of blood vessels in the eye, or increased eye pressure. There is an uncommon risk of heart attack or stroke. There's still so much to see. Ask about next generation EYLEA HD, a treatment retina specialists trust.
Whether you're a professional driver or just a fan, vehicle breakdowns are costly.
It started tugging.
The last thing I remember is just the engine cut out.
I knew pretty quickly that I had a pretty severe issue on my hands.
If your check engine light comes on tomorrow, the repair could easily cost thousands.
Imagine me paying out of pocket $4,000 or $5,000.
I was not ready to spend a few $1,000s.
It was like almost a $6,000 job.
But with Endurance, you could never pay out of pocket for a costly repair again. Plus, your rate stays the same no matter how many claims you file.
I've had 5 claims for over $12,000.
I've had 6 claims worth over $4,000.
I've had 3 claims and saved over $3,700.
I've had 2 claims for over $4,600, and my rate hasn't changed.
Use any certified mechanic you want. Just bring your car in, and Endurance will pay them direct. All major parts are covered.
What I like about Endurance, they don't play games, there's no middleman. They're a solid company.
With Endurance, your car repair costs go way down, while your car's life expectancy goes
Car in, and Endurance will pay them direct. All major parts are covered.
What I like about Endurance, they don't play games, there's no middleman. They're a solid company.
With Endurance, your car repair costs go way down, while your car's life expectancy goes way up, allowing you to drive more and pay less.
Something is going to break down. Make Endurance pay for it.
They covered a $14,000 engine replacement.
So, who's going to pay for your next car repair? You or
way up, allowing you to drive more and pay less.
Something is going to break down. Make Endurance pay for it.
They covered a $14,000 engine replacement.
So, who's going to pay for your next car repair? You or Endurance?
Whether you put 10,000 or 100,000 miles a year on your car, if it's less than 20 years old, Endurance has you covered with unlimited miles. Plus, your plan covers 24/7 road.
Pay for your next car repair. You or Endurance?
Whether you put 10,000 or 100,000 miles a year on your car, if it's less than 20 years old, Endurance has you covered with unlimited miles. Plus, your plan covers 24/7 roadside assistance anywhere in the country. Call right now to get $300 off any plan, plus a full year of our top-tier elite benefits. Endurance has you covered with unlimited miles. Plus, your plan covers 24/7 roadside assistance anywhere in the country. Call right now to get $300 off any plan, plus a full year of our top-tier elite benefits, a $2,000 value free. And all Endurance plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. But you have to act now.
Call 1-800-290-3558 for a free quote.
Plus a full year of our top-tier elite benefits, a $2,000 value free. And all Endurance plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. But you have to act now.
Call 1-800-290-3558 for a free quote. That's 1-800-290-3558.
When your gut is out of balance, your body gives you signs. So if you're frustrated with occasional bloating, or gas,
1-800-290-3558 for a free quote. That's 1-800-290-3558.
when your gut is out of balance, your body gives you signs. So if you're frustrated with occasional bloating or gas, help stop the frustration and start taking Align every day. Align probiotic was specifically designed
over the generations and stories that are passed down as the true legacy of a family and of a community.
Let's talk about Aunt Pilot. She's described as being born without a navel, and I think that's meant to underscore her spiritual nature. Tell me what you find from that.
You know, she has no navel, so there's no kind of tangible evidence that she was ever born of a mother. But it's ironic because she is the one that is most connected to the generations gone by. Any understanding of the truth of Milkman's past, of Milkman's father's past, it all must come through Pilot, who carries with her a physical legacy of bones.
So if you go from Pilot to the novel's opening scene, there's this element of magical realism throughout the novel. Tell me the significance of Morrison marrying myth and reality in Song of Solomon.
I don't know that Morrison would necessarily call this magical realism. I think she may just call it realism, because for many people, magic is real. It isn't a device or a gimmick. There is a sense that the past is always with us, that ghosts, both literal and metaphoric, are around us everywhere. And this is why Pilot is able to understand the world in the way that her very kind of empirically minded nephew cannot. She knows that everyone we have ever known is still here in the room with us.
Let's talk about something that's going on currently. We're in the midst of what one New York Times book critic called a wave of Morrisonia. 11 of her books, Song of Solomon, are being reissued and re-released. Tell me about that and why that's happening now.
I mean, I think it's as simple as the fact that Morrison is, the greatest American novelist to ever, pick up a pen, to ever play the game. And here, we're approaching the anniversary of her passing. It only makes sense that these American treasures be re-released with new introductions by writers of a different generation, explaining how these stories are and will always be relevant to how we understand who we are as a nation, especially now in such times of strife. These stories provide roadmaps sometimes. Some other times they provide just good ideas, cautionary tales to how we should take the next steps forward if we want to have a country that is just, fair, and nurturing to everyone.
Well, that quote I wrote in the intro after the election of George W. Bush, which seems now quaint compared to the moments that we're in right now, but it was very telling, right? It's in these moments, this is what we need to rely on. I think that becomes as relevant. It's perhaps more relevant now than when Toni Morrison wrote that, or many of the other things that she wrote.
I mean, I think the real question for any time you find yourself puzzled by the moment we're in, you have to ask yourself, what happened? And in fiction, we can find a different kind of answer to that question of what happened, because fiction goes into people's homes, into people's hearts in a different way that, say, important books of history. When we find out what happened between members of a family, what happens when a Black boy went to the emergency room, what happened when Milkman traveled to Virginia and found his great aunt who is living in the home of the people she worked for because she wants to see that home fall to pieces. We understand it differently. And when we understand, we can make meaningful decisions about the way forward.
Is there a way, if you are revisiting Toni Morrison or you're new to Toni Morrison, given the sort of the sustaining relevance of her work, is there a way you'd tell our viewers to approach how to start reading this?
You know, I feel that Morrison has this reputation for being so difficult. So people want to know, like, how do I get in? As though there's some kind of complicated lock that you need a formula to open. But one thing that Morrison doesn't get enough credit for is that she plots a novel like a house on fire. You will turn the pages just to find out what happens next. Because of her profundity, people think of her as kind of like, take your medicine, eat your spinach. But this book is a delight. You will laugh out loud. You will find yourself, quoting her more masterful lines about everyday life. Just jump into it. Put aside whatever your English teacher may have told you and pick it up, because it is a pleasure to read. It is a profound pleasure. And by that, I mean not that it is merely profoundly pleasurable, but there is a profundity laced within this story.
This is interesting that you say this, because it's something that we talk about on the Velshi Band Book Club, that forget the rules you learned about how you should consume information or consume books. Just read them and just enjoy them. And I appreciate you saying that. Tara, you'll be back to talk about Kin very shortly, so I appreciate that. Thank you for joining us today to talk about Song of Solomon. Tara Jones is the newest member of the Velshi Band Book Club. She will be back with us to discuss her novel Kin, which is a story about friendship and motherhood in the American South. It is already being heralded as one of the best books of the year. So you'll want to read that, and then we'll talk to her on the show. That does it for me. Thank you for watching. Catch me back here tomorrow morning from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Also join Stephanie Rule and me on YouTube on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern for It's Happening with Velshi and Rule. Send in your questions. We will answer them live on air. They can be about anything, by the way. We talk about the intersection between politics and economics, but ask whatever you want, and you can send us the email anytime you want. The email address is velshirule@ms.now. That's velshirule@ms.now. Stay where you are. The news continues with my colleague Ariel Reshef, who's in for Alex Witt right after the break.
This is Alex. Alex needed help investing his savings. With his advisor, Dennis, he opened 3 accounts.
One for now, one for later, and of course, his retirement.
More than big goals for his future, Alex has got a plan to get there.
Have you ever felt so sluggish that it was like you were stuck in your chair? Like you didn't feel energetic enough for even routine activity? I've been there. And as a doctor, I knew this could be a sign that my digestive system wasn't working at its best. So I followed the same advice I give my patients and started taking Metamucil fiber every day.
Metamucil is the only leading brand with plant-based psyllium fiber that gels to help trap and remove waste, so you can feel lighter in as little as 14 days.
After trying it for 2 weeks, I decided to keep taking Metamucil every day to help meet my health goals.
Metamucil psyllium fiber also helps curb cravings between meals, helps lower cholesterol to support heart health, and helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels. That's why Metamucil is the #1 fiber brand recommended by doctors, pharmacists,
and gastroenterologists like me.
Metamucil. Digestive health starts here. Scan to shop or visit these fine retailers today.
Everyone has free offers on the latest phones, but T-Mobile gives you a lot more. T-Mobile families save over $3,700 versus the other big guys. And our experience plans include amazing benefits, plus our 5-year price guarantee. Switch to T-Mobile to save on a big scale.
Even on an antidepressant, I was masking my depression. I felt I was missing out on the moments around me. So my doctor prescribed Rexulti.
When added to an antidepressant, Rexulti was proven to significantly reduce depression symptoms, more than an antidepressant alone.
She said Rexulti could provide a boost. For me, less depression meant enjoying the little things.
Elderly people with dementia-related psychosis have increased risk of death or stroke. Antidepressants may increase suicidal thoughts and actions and worsen depression in children and young adults. Call your healthcare provider right away to report new or sudden changes in mood, behavior, thoughts, or feelings, or if you develop suicidal thoughts or actions. Report fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which can be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar can lead to coma or death. Weight gain, increased cholesterol, unusual urges, dizziness on standing, falls, seizures, trouble swallowing, or sleepiness may occur.
Could a boost help you build on your progress?
Ask your doctor about adding Rexulti.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need? Now you can sell your policy, even a term policy, for an immediate cash payment. Call Coventry Direct to learn more.
We thought we had planned carefully for our retirement.
But we quickly realized we needed a way to supplement our income.
Our friends sold their policy to help pay their medical bills. And that got me thinking. Maybe selling our policy could help with our retirement.
I was skeptical, so I did some research and called Coventry Direct. They explained life insurance is a valuable asset that can be sold.
We learned we could sell all of our policy or keep part of it with no future payments. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we can relax and enjoy our retirement as we had planned.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may qualify to sell your policy. Don't cancel or let your policy lapse without finding out what it's worth. Visit CoventryDirect.com to find out if your policy qualifies, or call 1-800-513-7100. Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
So glad that you were with us on this Saturday. I'm Ariel Reshef in for Alex Witt. We are reporting from MS Now headquarters here in Times Square in New York. And we do begin with breaking news just into our newsroom. MS Now has now learned former special counsel Robert Mueller has died. MS Now investigative reporter Carol Leonnig has the details. She is now on the phone with us. Carol, what can you tell us?
Robert Mueller, who was suffering from Parkinson's disease in the last year or two, and the former FBI director and, iconic representative of the FBI, also the former special counsel into Russian interference into the 2016 presidential election, has died. That's about all we know at the moment. We knew that he was ill and had been ill for a while, living in a senior living center outside Charlottesville, Virginia. And so this is not entirely unexpected, but it's very sad for the FBI family that looked up to him and really revered his service to the U.S. government and to the American people.
How significant is this loss, and what kind of central role, just remind the public of the central role Robert Mueller played in that investigation in 2016?
So Robert Mueller was a career public servant to his core. He started as a young man in the military, then became a prosecutor, and eventually became the director of the FBI. He is probably best known for the fact that he was the FBI director on 9/11. He had just taken office, just been appointed by George W. Bush, and he, remember, tenure for that job normally, and he went about this incredible reformation of the FBI and along with the Department of Justice to ensure that information about terror plots were shared between the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the intelligence community to be sure that the FBI was intercepting terror plots before they unfolded, not waiting to charge people, but to stop them because 9/11 was viewed as an intelligence failure. That is probably what he's best known for, but he's also, of course, quite famous for his rigorous and careful investigation of Russian interference in the 2016 election, which Donald Trump blamed him for. I'm sorry, I'm going to lose you, but Donald Trump blamed him as a individual who weaponized the department against him. And I'm sorry, I'm going to lose you right about here. So sorry.
Okay. Carol Leonnig, thank you so much for breaking news reporting there. I believe we have Rob D'Amico on the line with us. Do we have Rob? Okay, we don't have Rob. So we're going to get back to this breaking news with more details as soon as we can. But for now, we do have breaking news on so many fronts today. In a rare move, the Senate is meeting right now, yes, on a weekend, to vote on whether to advance an amendment to the Save America Act. It comes as the ongoing shutdown at the Department of Homeland Security hits its 5-week mark. It's the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. MS Now congressional reporter Kevin Fry has the latest from Capitol Hill. A rare Saturday for you, Kevin. What's in the Save America Act amendment, and why did lawmakers feel so compelled to come in on a weekend to tackle it?
Right. So, I mean, a little bit of a backstory here. Obviously, we have seen pressure from a conservative group of lawmakers here on Capitol Hill and also the president arguing that this is their number one priority, the Save America Act bill, which essentially at the baseline is election reform. It essentially would require proof of citizenship to register to vote and then an ID card when you go to actually cast your ballot. But the measure that we're going to see the lawmakers vote on whether to advance today really has nothing to do with any of that. It focuses on trans women participating in women's sports. Essentially, it would bar the participation of folks biologically male at birth from participating in women's sports. So I had a chance to ask some of the leaders of the GOP why we were seeing this as part of the consideration of this bill. Keep in mind, this is something the president has asked he wants in this legislation. Here's some of what they said.
With respect to biological males competing in women's sports and transgender surgeries for minors, those are also issues that are overwhelmingly supported by the American people. They're part of a package, a broader package of the Save America Act, and obviously we intend to trigger votes on those. But the specific issue we're addressing right now is photo ID, and that is one on which the Democrats have said, Senator Schumer himself, that we are not opposed to photo ID.
And that was from a press conference just about 2 hours ago where these Republican leaders really wanted to hone in on the voter ID part. But of course, they're not actually getting to voting on that particular piece today. We do expect them to take that up in full at some point as part of this debate. But the reason that we're even here on the weekend is that the Senate GOP leadership has decided to allow ongoing kind of faux filibustering for debate over this bill because they want to, in some ways, appease leadership. Not all GOP lawmakers are happy with this. They see this as theater that is really a distraction and chewing up valuable floor time.
And so, Kevin, we've also seen the massive impact, of course, at airports across the country. We know TSA workers aren't getting paid at this point. Are lawmakers any closer to an off-ramp when it comes to the DHS shutdown?
So publicly, no, but at very least, we have seen a lot of new action in the last few days, where just last night, for the second time in a matter of days, we saw Tom Homan, the so-called border czar from the White House, up here on Capitol Hill, meeting behind closed doors with a bipartisan contingent of lawmakers. They, of course, are still fighting over that ICE piece. Democrats want to see various reforms. There seems to still be a degree of distance between the two sides on how to approach this, according to a Democratic source coming out of that meeting. Of course, Democrats want to see, among other things, a ban on the use of masks, and they also want to see reforms to the use of judicial warrants. They want to make sure the judicial warrants are used. It's not clear that the White House is there yet. The White House has offered a counter proposal. We are waiting to see if more conversations continue, if they can find an off-ramp here.
Will be interesting to see what's in that proposal. Kevin Fry, thank you so much on this weekend edition. Now to breaking news, a major escalation in the war in Iran. The Wall Street Journal reporting that Iran launched intermediate-range ballistic missiles towards Diego Garcia. That's a strategic joint U.S.-UK military base in the middle of the Indian Ocean. None reached their targets, but this does mark the first operational use of IRBMs by Iran that can reach far beyond the Middle East. Also, Iranian state media reporting that the Natanz nuclear facility was again attacked by the U.S. and Israel. Iran says there was no radiation leak in that case. This comes as President Trump posted on social media he's considering winding down military operations in the Middle East, even as the U.S. doubles the number of U.S. ground troops.
Well, look, we can have dialogue, but I don't want to do a ceasefire. You don't do a ceasefire when you're literally obliterating the other side.
An official with knowledge of the matter tells MS Now roughly 2,500 Marines are headed to the region, as well as 3 warships from San Diego. Israel's defense minister saying attacks against Iran will increase significantly in the coming weeks, while Iran is threatening to attack tourist sites and other civilian targets worldwide. Iran's new supreme leader, Moshtaba Khamenei, released a message for the Persian New Year saying Iran's enemies were being defeated. The message was read on state TV and comes amid a lot of speculation about Khamenei's health. He has not been seen publicly since he took power, by the way. In Tehran, Iranians headed to markets buying supplies ahead of the New Year gatherings, but some say it was incredibly difficult to celebrate this year.
The mood is so low this year that we can't even find the spirit to welcome the new year. We're not thinking about celebrations. We're just wondering when this war will end and what's going to happen to us.
So much unknown, and we have reporters and analysts covering all of these new and developing storylines. We begin with MS Now international reporter Inez de la Cuatara in Jerusalem for us. Inez, part of an Iranian missile fell just yesterday in Jerusalem. Are there signs pointing to this conflict ramping up or winding down?
Hey, Ariel. Yeah, that is the big question today. And we have been seeing lots of mixed messaging. So we did hear President Trump talking about how he is considering winding down U.S. operations in Iran. He says because the U.S. is getting very close to its military objectives. That, though, is, of course, at odds with reporting that you mentioned off the top there that the U.S. is sending additional troops and warships to the region. It's also at odds with what the Israelis are saying. They say that, on the contrary, they're going to be ramping up their operations. So I'll let you listen to what President Trump and the Israeli defense minister had to say.
Knocked out their Navy, their Air Force. We've knocked out their anti-aircraft. We've knocked out everything. We're roaming free. From a military standpoint, all they're doing is clogging up the strait. But from a military standpoint, they're finished.
שבוע, עוצמת התקיפות שיבצעו צה"ל וצבא ארצות הברית נגד משטר הטרור האיראני ונגד התשתיות עליהן הוא נשען תעלה מדרגה באופן משמעותי, והמערכה בהובלת נשיא ארצות הברית דונלד טראמפ וראש ממשלת ישראל בנימין נתניהו תימשך.
And Israel today very much pounding Tehran. Iran says that the U.S. and Israel also struck the Natanz nuclear facility today, the Natanz enrichment complex that was also struck back in June. We know the U.S. and Israel have said part of the point of this war is to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. The International Energy Atomic Agency did say that they hadn't recorded any type of kind of heightened levels of radiation at the site, but they are calling for restraint. The other big headline, of course, is Iran targeting that joint U.S.-UK base in the Indian Ocean known as Diego Garcia. No damage was reported at that base, but that is significant because it suggests that Tehran does have weapons that can reach further than they had previously acknowledged. So there are questions now as to, what other targets Iran might try to strike. And beyond that, we are watching everything going on with Hezbollah, the fighting intensifying on Israel's northern border, the growing humanitarian crisis there. I spoke to Mercy Corps that has been operating on the ground in southern Lebanon. I'll let you listen to how they describe the situation.
So in general, it's either they are on the streets, they're living in their cars, they're setting up tents across the shores. And as I told you, a lot of them are extremely vulnerable and have nowhere to go. So they're just trying to survive day by day. And with the weather being so harsh, I can't imagine how they are currently living.
We know over 1 million people in southern Lebanon have been displaced now. We asked the IDF how long they think this could go on for. They say they can't give us a real number, that they're prepared to keep this going for as long as it takes. And they said that could be months.
Inez de la Cuatara, thank you so much for your fulsome reporting. Appreciate it. And joining us now, Vera Bergen-Gruen, Wall Street Journal national security reporter, and Seth Jones, author and former Defense Department senior official. He's now president of the Defense and Security Department for the Center for Strategic International Studies. Both of you, thanks for being with us. Vera, the Journal reported that, according to multiple U.S. officials, for the very first time, as we've been reporting, Iran has launched this intermediate ballistic missile against Diego Garcia. That's the joint U.S.-UK military base in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Thankfully, they did not reach their target successfully. Your latest reporting suggests that this war has left diplomatic missions in the crosshairs. How significant and concerning is this development for the U.S. and for Europe?
It does seem quite concerning, again, less because it actually reached its targets, thankfully. I mean, the reporting indicates that one of them just failed in flight and one of them was intercepted. But again, it's further than we knew these weapons could reach. And it just shows a willingness to reach far beyond the Middle East, to reach military posts and also, as we've reported, diplomatic facilities, really, really far from where the actual conflict is happening. And it's almost more symbolic. Luckily, again, there hasn't been a loss of life in all these targeting of diplomatic posts, embassies, military bases. But just the fact that they can reach that far, that they're willing to reach that far, the fact that they've had to draw down diplomats and a lot of military personnel and keep everyone safe, that is really causing a lot of disruptions across the region.
So, Seth, how far can IRBMs reach?
Well, they can reach sort of into the Indian Ocean. They can reach throughout most of the Middle East, and they can reach parts of Europe. I think actually what's important about the attempted attack against Diego Garcia and the use of intermediate range missiles is it actually does highlight that if the U.S. does indeed try to open up the Strait of Hormuz with Navy and other forces, including coalition forces, the Iranians still do have standoff weapons. They've got ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. And if they're trying to target locations in areas like the Indian Ocean, Strait of Hormuz is a much closer target. So they still have capabilities left in their quiver right now, which should cause some concern with a lot of these efforts to think about opening up the strait again.
Should the U.S. or does the U.S. know what kind of capabilities Iran still possesses at this point?
Well, I suspect the answer is U.S. and Israeli intelligence has indications of a chunk of what has been destroyed. It's much more difficult to see and to use, say, imagery intelligence to understand what is being held underground. So ballistic or cruise missiles that are being stored underground, particularly mobile launch, or also drones. So I suspect they know a chunk of what has been either destroyed or what may be available, but I doubt everything.
That's been one of the key problems here, is that so much of Iran's stockpile is below ground, has been fortified below ground. Vera, the U.S. has eased Iranian oil sanctions, risking handing maybe a boost to Iran, depending how you look at this. And your paper says that the move will likely bring only limited relief to pressure on oil prices that we've seen. This is the first time Iranian oil has been unsanctioned by the U.S. since, I believe, the 1990s. What's behind this decision? How do you explain it? How big of a difference could the release of this amount of oil make?
That's right. I mean, it just really shows the pressure that they're trying to alleviate when it comes to what's been happening with the Strait of Hormuz, and also with, the fact it does seem like this is another indication they expect this to be going on for quite a long time. Trying to basically pull out all of these other, I guess you could say, unusual, more creative ways in order to alleviate the pressure. It's not going to be a ton, but, and they've been very careful to say that this is, temporary. It's only a 30-day waiver, and it's only for Iranian oil that's already at sea. But again, just messaging wise, it's quite confusing. It's telling people, we're lifting sanctions on Iran on the one hand and bombing them with the other. And, again, it does raise the question of how much it was planned in advance and whether this was one of the scenarios that they saw when they launched this war almost, 3 weeks ago.
Seth, the IAEA says it's looking into those reports by Iran that the U.S. and Israel ostensibly hit the Natanz nuclear site again today and called for military restraint to avoid any risk of nuclear accident. What would the U.S. and Israel be going after if they did indeed bomb Natanz, if experts believe that the 60% enriched uranium that still exists is below the rubble from the strikes in June?
Yeah, so Natanz is Iran's main underground nuclear enrichment facility. So, I mean, it is likely that most of the actual enriched uranium is probably buried somewhere in and around Isfahan. But why you would target Natanz is that there must have been an assessment. There's likely an assessment that the enrichment facility had not been fully destroyed. And one of the major objectives, both of the U.S., we've heard it from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and from the Secretary of Defense or War, as well as from the Israelis, is to severely degrade, set back, if not try to destroy Iran's nuclear weapons program. So that is really destroying the capabilities at Natanz as well as others like Isfahan. I mean, the big question looming still is, what do you do with the enriched uranium itself that you can't and certainly don't want to try to destroy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is not just about the enriched uranium, the material itself, but also going after the infrastructure, so there's no future for enrichment. Vera, the Journal says that Gulf states, this is perhaps one of the most interesting dynamics we've seen emerge from this. The Gulf states are encouraging the U.S. and Israel to cripple Iran's regime before ending this war. More than 2,400 people have been killed in this region since this war started. But there is this kind of unprecedented unity among the Gulf states in finishing the job here, which they had initially kind of wanted to sit this out. Now it seems like they've reached a turning point. Is that because we're seeing the targeting of energy sites and because the oil markets are shifting now?
I think that's what our reporting shows. It's largely because of the targeting of their own civilians, their own infrastructure, but also we never really knew how the scenario would play out. In this kind of major conflict. Last June, as we said, Iran ended up just doing one limited strike, and everyone kind of pulled away and went home. Now and when this first started, it also was clear that they didn't know how long it would last and just how chaotic it could get for them. And now that they're finding themselves constantly targeted, this aura of invulnerability that certain countries here had, despite the region they were in, has been shattered. Tourism, everything else. They're living in this different kind of world. I think they've realized just how bad things can get, and they don't want that to happen again. So I think we're just seeing that now that we are again entering the fourth week of this war. They are definitely, they're kind of taking a longer view that they've never had to take before. And it's really changing the way that these alliances work.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating dynamic to behold. Vera Bergen-Gruen and Seth Jones, thank you both for your analysis.
Thank you.
More on the breaking news coming up, the death of Robert Mueller, someone who worked with him, who was in the FBI when he was an FBI director. We are back here in 90 seconds with that breaking news.
It looks like an ordinary staircase, but as you age with occasional nerve discomfort that can feel like stabbing or pins and needles in your hands and feet, sometimes stairs can bring worry. As a retired doctor, now that I'm older myself, I take Nervive. Nervive Nerve Relief has ALA to start reducing occasional nerve discomfort in 7 days. Getting older happens, but living with occasional nerve discomfort doesn't have to. Try Nervive like I did and get your freedom back. Feel alive with Nervive.
Go ahead, crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor tracks your glucose in real time. And over time, it can help lower your A1C. This is progress. Learn more and try for free at freestylelibre.us.
They tell you to optimize, to hack. But what if you were never broken? Armor Colostrum, the first food of life, reawakens your innate brilliance. 400 nutrients, 4 seconds, 1 daily revival.
We want to return to the breaking news we are following. Robert Mueller has passed away, the former FBI director and special counsel who investigated Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. Apparently, he passed away last night, according to 2 people familiar with the matter. Mueller was a lawyer and served as the 6th director of the FBI from 2001 to 2013. He was 81 years old. I do want to bring in our contributor, Rob D'Amico, MS Now national security and intelligence analyst and former FBI supervisor. Rob, you worked under Robert Mueller and met with him a few times. What was he like?
He's very serious. And when you look at it, when you come into the office to take over from actually a very popular director in Louis Freeh, and it's September 4th, 2001, and a week later, 9/11 happens. You can only imagine, you're just getting your feet on the ground, and 9/11 happens, and it was an event that changed the Bureau, and it changed under Director Mueller. But he was serious because at that time, you look at the 12 years, and he's the second longest serving director besides Hoover. He extended 2 years after his tenure time. Those were serious years, and there was he had 5 deputy directors under him that he served throughout. But it was a time that he had to change the Bureau. And when you look at it, you think it's easy after 9/11 that you want to go from just prosecuting cases, because that's what the Bureau did. Someone commits a crime, we investigate it, we prosecute it. To his thing was, we have to prevent the next 9/11. In order to do that, he got a lot of pushback from older agents. I remember, I was on the FBI's hostage rescue team during 9/11. And he started talking about this, and I heard senior agents say, nah, it's just a fad, it'll go away, we'll go back to, doing what we normally do. And I really couldn't believe it. And I was in the Bureau under 10 years at that time saying, what do you mean? This is a historical change. And he met with a lot of, changing the FBI as a huge bureaucracy is tough. So he met with some things that got him really frustrated. But him coming from, as a U.S. attorney, assistant U.S. attorney, he was acting deputy U.S. attorney general. He was serious. He knew how to do cases, so he knew what it took for the Bureau to get there. And then you look at his service. Being a former Marine myself, that was very evident to me that he was in the Marine Corps. He served during Vietnam, won a Bronze Star with a V, Purple Heart. 68 through 71, tough years to be a platoon commander in Vietnam. And he carried that with him. He was very serious. It was everything you thought, though. When you think of FBI, you think of dark suit, white shirt, and tie. And that's always where he was. I met him several times overseas serving in Iraq and Afghanistan. He would come over to visit. And he grabbed me a couple times and talked, and I, would say Semper Fi, so he knew, I was coming from the same background as him. And he would ask me questions, really in-depth questions, what I was seeing over there. And a couple times we were embedded with Special Forces doing some things that you never thought the Bureau would be doing, but it was under his vision of, we have to go forward. We have to get the terrorists overseas. We have to work with the CIA and the military so that we prevent it before it comes to the U.S., which was really something he brought in.
Such incredible perspective that you bring to this situation. Rob, we heard very little from Robert Mueller during the Russia interference investigation and beyond that. And he was known for letting his work do the talking. But he was also probably one of the most recognizable FBI directors that we've had so far. How do you believe his legacy will carry through the institution, and what's the contrast in what we're seeing at the FBI today?
Unfortunately, because of the time he was in, the FBI got more political. And I talk about this. I've talked about it on the show a couple times. Under Robert Mueller, before him, cases were really run from field divisions. SACs and assistant directors in charge really dictated what cases they took and how they proceeded. Because of 9/11 and the findings of the 9/11 Commission and some of the faults that were in there between the intelligence and criminal divisions, he really had to take more control, he felt, from headquarters. Unfortunately, when you have something run from Washington, D.C., the air of Washington, D.C. is politics. Every little bit seeps into the building. And because of, I think, media and social media and how just the country has developed, politics got more brought into it. He wasn't a political guy. He really was staying out of it. So I hope they take the legacy from 9/11 all the way to the end as a whole and not just specifics if you're trying to pick out things.
Yeah, a Time magazine article from 2018 quotes former FBI Assistant Director Tom Fuentes as saying about Mueller, if indicting his own mother was the right thing to do, he would do it. He took a lot of heat for that investigation into Russian interference, but he still persisted. Is that consistent with the man that you served under and with the person that you know him to be?
absolutely, moral character. Tom Fuentes is a friend of mine, and he's right. If it wasn't popular, even to himself, and it was the right thing to do, he absolutely would have done it. I would never guess anything besides the highest moral integrity and courage and commitment. And if it was something that he thought was right, he would do it no matter what. And I think that's the same thing. If he didn't think those investigations had merit, he absolutely wouldn't have pursued them.
All right, Rob D'Amico, thank you so much for shedding some light on Robert Mueller's legacy. Appreciate you. Happening right now, a rare weekend Senate session. Lawmakers back on Capitol Hill, where Democrats hope to force a vote on TSA funding. The chaos at the TSA is reaching a boiling point. That's according to Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer. As of right now, wait times are up, staffing is down, and over 50,000 TSA agents are working without pay for the third time in 6 months.
I think it's a disgrace. What's our country coming to? People have to be paid. There's no reason why this bill can't be passed and funding provided so that TSA can be operational.
I agree totally. People work hard and they should be paid.
5 out of the 6 airports in my state have food drives going on at their airports. And I think it really shows that the community cares around the country, but also that should not be happening. You know, we should be getting paid. We're federal employees. I should not have to go to food banks and donate plasma just so I can pay my rent.
I don't blame them for calling out and not coming to work because they need a paycheck. They need to eat just like the rest of us.
For more, I'm joined now by Mike Gazagian, president of the AFGE Local 2617, the union that covers New England airports. Mike, we just heard from some travelers and another airport union head, all of whom are now being impacted by this shutdown. From your perspective, where do things stand?
Things are getting worse, unfortunately, and you can see that throughout the country. Up here in New England, we've been able to keep things pretty much stabilized, but I just got word this morning that the call-outs are beginning to tick up, and so it looks like people are really starting to become very frustrated and making decisions as to whether or not they're going to stay. You know, what's going to happen is the checks will not come next Friday if they don't make a deal sometime this week, if not today. And yeah, at that point, I think things will start to unwind pretty quickly.
And it's important to remember this isn't happening in a vacuum. Some of these TSA agents are still recovering from the 43-day shutdown last year. How is the current shutdown compounding the hardship for these agents?
Well, it makes it that much more difficult to have to go back to your landlords and your creditors and those folks who you owe money to and say to them, hey, can you cut me a break and wait another month? I mean, it's embarrassing. We're federal employees, and it's not fair to the folks that you owe money to. And I mean, there's a lot of pride and dignity that goes along with wearing the badge at TSA. I mean, I really see it on the faces of the new hires that come in, and they're so proud when they get to wear their badge for the first time and go on the floor and kind of show it off, and that's all being taken away from them. And it's just incredibly unfair what's happening here. I mean, I can't believe that that the Congress is allowing this to continue.
Hopefully they are going to come to some kind of resolution soon. But in the meantime, earlier this week, you said in New England, since this shutdown began, at least one TSA agent has walked off the job. I believe that's each day. So you've had 35 agents quit with fewer people and minimal resources. Is the public, in your opinion, at risk here, given the environment that we find ourselves in? We're at war with Iran, given the threat assessment that we're living under. Is there going to be a lapse in security at some point?
Well, I mean, the huge lines outside of security are certainly a problem. I mean, there's no question that is something that has to be addressed immediately. And yeah, I mean, as far as, enhancing the risk, I mean, just, yes, of course, if you have hundreds of people concentrated in one area, given the current environment that we're in, it would be a tragedy if something were to happen. But, again, this is something that absolutely has to be addressed immediately, and it has to come to an end immediately.
Yeah, not only are those lines frustrating, but they are a concerning sight to behold from a security standpoint. We heard from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy this week. Let's listen to what he said. I want your thoughts on the other side of it.
Sure.
These are not highly paid individuals. They start off at about $45,000 to $55,000. The TSA agents missed a partial payment. Last Friday, they missed a full payment, and they're about to miss another payment. This is going to look like child's play, what's happening right now. You're going to see small airports, I believe, shut down. You're going to see extensive lines, and air travel is going to almost come to a grid halt, stop.
That sounds very dire. What's your message to lawmakers who are on Capitol Hill today?
I agree with Mr. Duffy. If TSA stops, everything's going to stop. And so it's going to have all kinds of wide-ranging impacts on not only the aviation industry, but just the economy in general. And so my message would be, take a hard look at what's going on out there and understand that it's real and it's only going to get worse. And it's quite possible that the damage has already been done and, we'll do what we can to fix it. But we have to have a resolution as soon as possible because if we hit the point of no return, then, all bets are off and it's just going to be a tragedy for everybody.
Well, we will check back in with you. Mike Gazagian, thank you so much. Hope this ends soon for you.
Thanks for having me.
Next, it's not just gas prices. There's more sticker shock out there as well. We'll discuss it.
Got sunscreen, swim diapers, SPF sun shirt, 2 fans, baby powder, and 1 floaty.
Sun hat.
Sun hat. Thank you. Got it! I got it!
Cash back on first-time parent wins.
Sun hat, check.
Umbrella.
Umbrella.
Earn 3% at drugstores and so much more. With Chase Freedom Unlimited.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine.
Well, she doesn't know that if she owns a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, she can sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy.
Even a term policy?
Even a term policy!
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-738-1300 or visit coventrydirect.com.
By lunchtime, I definitely have body odor.
I have tried everything and nothing works.
I'm just a stinky girl.
That odor isn't you. It's bad chemistry. Lumi is clinically proven to control the hundreds of odor reactions happening everywhere on your body right now, not just the 3 to 5 happening in your armpits. Rather than covering up odor with heavy fragrance, Lumi actually stops odor before it starts. That's my secret to better odor control everywhere. Lumi's unlike anything you've ever tried before.
Did you Lumi today?
Lumi, outrageously effective odor control.
This is the story of the one. The one knows that when the big game is days away, the unexpected can put everything on the line. But with a solid game plan and a teammate like Grainger that she can rely on to deliver the product she needs when she needs it, she's confident that she will always win the day. And her team will do the same. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
And President Trump has just weighed in on the death of Robert Mueller. I want to bring in MS Now White House reporter Akayla Gardner. Akayla, what did he say?
The president has just posted on Truth Social following the death of former FBI Director Robert Mueller. And I'm just going to read to you his post. It says, "Robert Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people." Signed, President Donald J. Trump. And this really follows a pattern by President Trump to continuously not express sympathy for his perceived political enemies, even in the face of their death. You may remember the death of Director Rob Reiner, the president expressing similar sentiments then. Even when Congressman Ilhan Omar faced political violence at one of her press conferences, she was sprayed with a substance. The president did not express sympathy. So this really follows a pattern for him. And these two men have a long and tense history. President Trump actually interviewed Robert Mueller about potentially taking a job as FBI director in his administration during his first term. But then Mueller was ultimately appointed special counsel in that investigation into interference, potential Russian interference in the 2026 election. And from there, these two men, their relationship became incredibly tumultuous. President Trump repeatedly called that investigation a witch hunt. And now, even in his death, which we still don't know exactly the cause of, President Trump expressing very harsh words.
Acrimony, even in the case of Robert Mueller's death. Kayla Gardner, thank you so much for getting out in front of this breaking news. We'll check back in with you soon. And coming up, there's more to the story about the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to tell you what you probably haven't heard just yet.
Thinking of updating my kitchen? Yeah. Yes. This year, we are finally updating our kitchen. Doing subway tile and an ivory or eggshell. Cream, maybe bone. Don't get me started on quartz. Big island. You ever heard of a waterfall counter?
For everyone who talks about doing that thing,
And over there,
but never does that thing,
sweet little breakfast nook.
Chase has financial guidance.
See how you can start saving to make this happen.
Really?
Really?
Really.
At home or in person.
You could also check out a Chase Money Skills workshop.
That's guidance from Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya. With rapid relief at 4 weeks, many people experienced remission at 1 and even 2 years. Some saw 100% visible healing of their intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Tremfya now offers self-administration from the start. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
Well, look at you powering through. You're not slowing down, you're raising eyebrows. Oh, and speed limits, you're way past those. Because you're playing for keeps. In other words, you're in your prime. So keep it that way with Ensure. 30 grams of protein to support your muscles and your mindset. Ensure yourself.
When your gut is out of balance, your body gives you signs. So if you're frustrated with occasional bloating or gas, help stop the frustration and start taking Align every day. Align Probiotic was specifically designed by gastroenterologists to help relieve your occasional bloating and gas, so you can enjoy life. When you feel the signs, it's time to try Align.
I'm Erica, and these are my breasts. We've changed a lot through the years, from dating to breastfeeding and gravity. And another change, a lump, breast cancer. As part of my treatment, my doctor and I chose to add Kisqali, a pill that can help reduce my risk of breast cancer from coming back. Now I embrace change and focus on today.
Kisqali, with an aromatase inhibitor, is for adults with stage 2 and 3, HR-positive, HER2-negative early breast cancer with a high risk of coming back. Kisqali may cause serious skin reactions, liver problems, and low white blood cell counts that may result in serious infections. Life-threatening lung problems and abnormal heartbeats can occur. Your doctor should test your heart and blood before and during treatment. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening cough, chest pain, or dizziness. Before taking Kisqali, tell your doctor all your medical conditions, medicines you take, and if you're breastfeeding, pregnant, or planning to be, as it can harm an unborn baby. Common side effects include nausea, headache, and tiredness.
I'm doing more today to help protect my tomorrow, because I'm more than just breast cancer.
Wow. Yeah, can you believe what's happening at VisionWorks? It's buy one, get one free.
Even more wow.
Wow is right.
Make your tax refund go further. VisionWorks. See the difference.
You want to file free? Hit it.
AI can turn your lights on.
Lights on.
And drive your car. And even write your kid's essay. But AI ain't gonna fix your broken water line or pay for the big repair bill. Having a plan from HomeServe offers real solutions. And when a covered system breaks, we'll send a qualified contractor and pay for the repair. There's nothing artificial about the peace of mind you get with a plan from HomeServe. Getting one is quite intelligent.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month.
Call 1-833-812-1903 or visit homeserve.com.
Fun for me to win on the course, but it's even more fun to win on Deal Dash.
Lori won $2,000 Tiffany earrings for just $1, and Joseph won an iPad for just $6. There's millions of fast auctions, so try today at DealDash.com for $50 of free credit and your first win guaranteed.
New today, the U.S. is temporarily waiving sanctions on Iranian oil that is stranded at sea as the de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz drives up energy prices. The administration says the move is to release 140 million barrels aimed at helping relieve the temporary pressures on supply caused by Iran. The U.S. is stepping up attacks in the Strait, sending low-flying attack jets and helicopters in an effort to clear the strategic waterway. Yesterday, the UK reversed course and approved the use of its bases for the U.S. strikes on the Strait after the president called NATO, quote, a paper tiger and a coward for not contributing military support. Joining me now, maritime historian Sal Mercogliano. He's an associate professor of history at Campbell University and a former merchant mariner himself. Sal, the U.S. is looking to clear the way for U.S. warships to hopefully eventually escort vessels through the Strait. The Iranians have deployed mines, fast attack boats, and drones. You have traversed this strait yourself. Describe how complicated this U.S. effort could be given Iran's maritime warfare.
Well, thanks for having me, Ariel. It is a tight strait. It's only 21 miles across, and the traffic is pretty heavy, usually about 135 ships going in and out. Reduced visibility. It's always hazy. There's never a clear day in the Strait of Hormuz. But most importantly, you're always in the shadow of the lee of Iran. You see the entire coast as you traverse that area. So should Iran deploy mines or fast attack vessels or shore-based drones or missiles, you'd be right under their envelope. And there's very little time to react in that area. So obviously the U.S. has got to do everything it can to prepare the area, ensure that as many shore-based missile and drone batteries have been eliminated before they can take the chance of bringing ships through that strait.
The U.S. announced late yesterday that it's lifting those sanctions on Iranian oil at sea. That oil was likely bound for China. It was sold at a discount on the so-called shadow fleet. It was being transported. So what's the impact here?
Well, I mean, it's about 100 million barrels afloat with another 40 million barrels loading out. We just spotted two very large crude carriers loading at Karg Island. They're going to load up with fuel. That's going to be 4 million barrels. That's going to be $400 million for Iran. Obviously, it's a very strange situation where the oil that normally would be feeding the market is stuck inside the Strait of Hormuz because fully loaded tankers can't get out. But meanwhile, Iranian tankers are able to freely move through the strait. And now the U.S. is giving permission to use Iranian oil to offset the problems that have initiated this conflict with Iran.
The International Maritime Organization estimates 20,000 seafarers and roughly 3,200 ships are impacted by the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. You're taking a look at that map with all those ships just sitting idle. You've spoken to some of the mariners waiting for safe passage. I know you told me yesterday that some of them are without water. What's the latest that you're hearing now?
Yeah, Ariel, it's getting a little bit desperate. I mean, ships have about 20, 25 crew members on board. They provision for a set voyage, for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Some of those ships have been sitting in there since February 28th. Some are in there longer, waiting to get in. The ships are sitting at anchor or they're maneuvering because they don't want to be a target. They're burning through their bunker fuel. And unless they're moving, they're not producing water. So it's getting to be a little bit of a desperate situation here for the crews. They're not getting a lot of information from governments about what is being done to release them. They know that there is some ship movement taking place now. We've seen some Indian ships, and we know Japan, for example, is in negotiations with Iran. But for the vast majority of ships, and I'll give you an example, 5 U.S. ships with 125 crew members really are not hearing much about what is happening and what is going to be done to get them out of the Persian Gulf and back home.
Just really quickly before I let you go. So say Iran does allow the passage of some Japanese ships. How do they implement a partial blockage of the strait? How does that work?
Well, what Iran has been doing is routing some ships up between two small islands at the very top of that map there, Larak and Kishim Island. And so the ships are actually transiting not through the normal middle of the Strait of Hormuz, but through Iranian waters. And we believe that the Iranians are physically inspecting the ships to ensure that it is the correct ship. We believe there may be reports of money being handed over, either directly or indirectly, up to maybe about $2 million per ship. And so Iran is setting up the choke point at the Strait of Hormuz to be more like a checkpoint or a toll booth and allowing limited number of ships going through. In the meantime, the U.S. has not yet begun any sort of convoy operation. And for the bulk of the ships in the Strait of Hormuz, they are locked in there until they can get some sort of kind of assurance that it'll be safe for them to transit the strait.
All right, Sal, we're going to continue to check in with you. I appreciate your insights. Sal Mercogliano, thanks again.
Thank you.
Still ahead, the public sentiment on U.S. ground troops in Iran. We're going to have a new poll.
This is the true story of Alex. Recently promoted, he was earning more, but investing for the future, I definitely needed a plan. With his advisor, Dennis, Alex invested his savings into 3 accounts. One for now, one for later, and of course, his retirement. A plan in motion put the future in focus. The wedding, the barn-dominium, kids. Maybe kids. The point here, Alex has more than big goals for his future. He's got a plan to get there.
Even on an antidepressant, I was masking my depression. I felt I was missing out on the moments around me. So my doctor prescribed Rexulti.
When added to an antidepressant, Rexulti was proven to significantly reduce depression symptoms, more than an antidepressant alone.
She said Rexulti could provide a boost. For me, less depression meant enjoying the little things.
Elderly people with dementia-related psychosis have increased risk of death or stroke. Antidepressants may increase suicidal thoughts and actions and worsen depression in children and young adults. Call your healthcare provider right away to report new or sudden changes in mood, behavior, thoughts, or feelings, or if you develop suicidal thoughts or actions. Report fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which can be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar can lead to coma or death. Weight gain, increased cholesterol, unusual urges, dizziness on standing, falls, seizures, trouble swallowing, or sleepiness may occur.
Could a boost help you build on your progress?
Ask your doctor about adding Rexulti.
After my fall, when I was recovering, my doctor recommended Boost. Today, I'm back out on the ranch, working and riding again. A real comeback deserves a real boost.
Did you take your vitamin today?
That's my job.
Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
New today, there are diverging options for President Trump as he weighs sending more troops to the Middle East while also floating the idea of winding down the war entirely. But he's made one thing very clear. He's not looking to press pause on the fighting as he pushes for a permanent solution in the region.
Well, look, we can have dialogue, but I don't want to do a ceasefire. You know, you don't do a ceasefire when you're literally obliterating the other side. They don't have a Navy. They don't have an Air Force. They don't have any equipment they don't have any spotters. They don't have anti-aircraft. They don't have radar. And their leaders have all been killed at every level. We're not looking to do that.
Let's bring in former special assistant to President Biden, Megan Hayes, and former advisor to Speaker John Boehner and founder of Blue Stack Strategies, Mara Gillespie. Mara, I want to get to some polling here. Here's how the American public is feeling. Less than half of all Americans support any deployment of U.S. troops on the ground in Iran. Can President Trump achieve the objectives of this war that he wants without losing politically? Are we just far enough away from the midterms where he could gain some ground back? Or will this be in the rear view, or is this too far gone at this point?
There's a lot that can happen between now and the midterms, but I think to your first question, what are the objectives? It's hard to say that he can accomplish them if we don't know what the objectives are. And it's hard to, want to support something when you don't know what success looks like. And so there's this very large gap of what the American people understand to what's going on in the Middle East right now and what our presence is there accomplishing. I think there's also a question about if they've already been obliterated and it's completely decimated and we've won already, then why are we still there? And then why is the Pentagon asking for $200 billion? So I think there is this question of what is happening and why is there not more transparency? And if that was explained, perhaps he could win back some people. But right now, there's a lot of mixed messaging still continuing to go on from the administration.
So, Megan, looking at the Holy Grail, the independents out there, only about a third support a ground invasion. How can Democrats grab those no war independent votes in November? Will this conflict play any kind of central role in what we see at the ballot box?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think more so it's going to play a role because of the cost of gas and the cost of things being affordable that they can't afford. It's hard to talk about wanting to send our men and women to war for something that we don't understand, as Maura pointed out, and no one has been given a justification when they can't afford gas and groceries. I went out today in Northern Virginia and gas was $4.29 at the station that I stopped at. That's unreasonable for people, and they can't afford their groceries, and now they can't afford gas. So that is what's going to really get people to vote for Democrats in the midterms. And this is just another added thing of more chaos in the administration that people just do not want to see.
Maura, 55% of Americans say rising gas prices, as we just heard there, they're affecting their personal finances at this point. Experts predict even higher oil prices going forward as we see this war continue to spiral. The administration has said that these prices are just temporary, that we're going to see them come down when the fighting stops. Are Americans buying that argument, like short-term pain for long-term security gain?
We've been hearing short-term pains for long-term gains for some time now. And right now it doesn't feel as though the golden age of America is affecting most Americans. It seems as though it's affecting Trump world and his orbit. So it's hard to use that messaging when it's falling pretty flat right now. I'm going to remain optimistic and hope that gas prices go down because, to Megan's point, I'm heading to Costco later and I'm hoping that the price isn't so astronomical that I can fill up my tank. And so I do think that people are feeling the squeeze right now. And when it comes down to it, voters are going to base things and their votes on what impacts them directly. Yes, gas prices. Yes, grocery costs. But also, I think when you talked earlier about the poll that showed people don't want this ground invasion. Well, what was passed in the NDAA in December of this past year was the automatic select service. So now, starting in December of 2026, young men who are aged 18 to 25 are going to automatically signed up for selective service. And I don't think people necessarily realize the fact that Caroline Leavitt hasn't taken that off the table of, instilling draft. She said that President Trump would never take anything off the table. And I just think that when people realize what's going to impact them directly at home, that's what's going to drive them either to the polls or not show up at all.
So, Megan, I'm curious. You have been in the room with a former president and watched policies unfold, tried to advise in those circumstances, even if the policies are unpopular. What sort of conversations will advisors inside the White House be having with President Trump as this war continues?
I mean, I think the first thing that they should be doing is telling him to stop tweeting and stop saying anything in these gaggles before he leaves the White House. It seems that he just compounds the chaos and compounds the conflicting messages. So the congressional Republicans can't even get a grasp on what the administration wants to do to be able to have campaign messaging going forward to win. So, rising gas prices hit the Biden administration, as we all know, after COVID. And it's a really tough place to be. It literally impacts everyone. People cannot go on vacation because they can't take road trips during the summer. And that's what's going to start happening. The United Airlines CEO said that jet fuel prices were going to increase greatly. And that would also, impact the cost of airline tickets. So these are starting to impact everyday activities for people and things that people want to do with their families. And that's when the American people get real ticked off. And like Maura said, don't show up to vote or they'll vote the opposite party, regardless of how they're registered.
Maura, most Americans are focused on kitchen table issues, the things that they can and can't afford. I don't know how much attention they're paying to our ties with our allies, but the president has called NATO a paper tiger, has said that they're cowards. It's clear President Trump's very frustrated with Europe, with NATO. How does this tension play out among the American public? Are they paying attention to this? Do they care?
Well, what I think they should care about is who are we really aligning ourselves with? The Trump administration removed sanctions on Russia. So are we now buddying it up with Russia? Is that the plan? I think long term, you have to think about what the impact will be for the next generation. If these are if these are the countries that we're aligning ourselves with. And, it's interesting when the president has really bashed NATO for, let's talk about his first term, but also just this past year and a half or so. And then turns around and says he needs their help. Well, and then shocked that they don't necessarily want to just jump in and engage in a war that they're not sure what we're doing in the first place there. So again, if you don't lay out what the strategy is and what the goals are, how can you get people who you've bashed for over a year and a half plus, your first term to join you and to be your ally when you haven't treated them like friends, when you've tariffed them and spoke so poorly of them? And so I think for the American people to pay attention to the fact that there's long-term implications of the erosion of our relationships and our strongest relationships at that.
And yet President Trump still has a pretty good relationship with the head of NATO. Megan Hayes and Maura Gillespie, thank you both so much. Coming up, more on the big breaking news, the death of former FBI Director Robert Mueller. We're going to talk about his role in the investigation into Russian interference in 2016 in the election. That's at the top of the hour. Stay with us.
After my accident, I couldn't quite do things like I used to. You know, my daughter introduced Boost to me. I love the support, and when I got into martial arts, we got in it together. A real fight deserves a real Boost.
My generalized myasthenia gravis was unpredictable and limited what I could do. But Ultomiris is continuous symptom control with improvement in activities of daily living. It is reduced muscle weakness. And Ultomiris is the only long-acting GMG treatment with the freedom of just 6 to 7 infusions per year. For a predictable routine I can count on.
Ultomiris may lower your ability to fight infections, increasing your chance of serious meningococcal and other infections, which may become life-threatening or fatal. Complete or update meningococcal vaccines at least 2 weeks before you start. If treatment is urgent, you should receive antibiotics with your vaccines. Don't start if you have a meningococcal infection. Infusion reactions may include back, belly, limb, or chest pain, muscle spasms, blood pressure changes, tiredness, shaking chills, bad taste, breathing problems, or face, tongue, or throat swelling. Ultomiris is continuous symptom control. Talk to your neurologist today.
Dry eye relief with the prescription Mibo drop? Don't use if allergic to Mibo. Remove contacts before using and wait at least 30 minutes before putting them back in. Eye redness and blurred vision may occur. Ask about Mibo.
This is the story of the one who doesn't just see a broken dock. He sees lost revenue, a late night, and work stalled to a halt. Thankfully, he has the experience to handle whatever comes his way and has Grainger on his side, offering access to technical product specialists and the scale to deliver fast, so he can keep his business in gear and always moving forward. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If history has taught us anything, it's not to root against the underdog, against impossible odds. You don't stand down. You swing first. Kalshi.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine.
Well, she doesn't know that if she owns